is suing her former landlord, retired police officer James Farrar, for an assault. James is countersuing, claiming Andrea assaulted him.
All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Yeah, this is case number 143 on the calendar in the matter of Hughes versus Farrar. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Ms. Hughes, you were a tenant in an apartment complex that was managed by the defendant.
Correct.
And it is your claim that he assaulted you.
Yes.
Mr. Farrar says that you was served with an eviction notice, and you, in fact, assaulted him and one of his employees. He is counterclaiming. How long had you been living in this complex?
I lived in that complex for approximately 2 years and about 4 months.
And who did you live with?
A roommate of mine.
When did Mr. Farrar come to work at the complex?
December 19th of 03. And the incident with Mr. Farrar and me happened on January 23rd of 04.
So describe the incident, please.
I was walking out of my apartment on January 23rd, and Mr. Farrar, I noticed that a balled up piece of paper hit me in the back. I turned around, and I seen him, along with one of his witnesses over there.
Which one?
Mrs. Farrar. Now, they said they're separated.
Who was Mrs. Farrar?
That's the first one there.
Okay.
Okay, and I turned around, and I said, "Did you throw that paper at me? You're so childish." And he followed me into the underground parking lot, antagonizing me, distorting me, saying a lot of different things to me. I can't wait till you get out of here. You know, he started to say, I have a recorder in my pocket. I'm going to try to get you arrested, you know. So I kind of rushed and got in my car. I was very afraid of this man. I couldn't even leave anywhere. I was so distraught. I went back into my house once I knew they were out of the underground parking lot.
So you were sitting in your car, and then you decided not to go out anymore, and you went back up to your apartment.
Yes, to go tell my roommate what happened.
Go ahead.
I went to go walk my dog. A lady out of the office came out and said, are you supposed to be walking your dog up front? What are you doing up here? And 5 minutes later, out of nowhere, this gentleman came and placed me into this chokehold.
You mean he just came out of nowhere?
He came out of nowhere. I did not see him coming. That's the whole thing about it. I didn't have an opportunity to even touch him with my pinky if I wanted to.
Okay, so he came up from behind you.
He came up from, yes. From the
came up from behind you and placed you in a chokehold.
Yes.
And what happened next?
Ma'am, he had me so tight. I was in and out of consciousness. I remember being slammed onto the floor. I remember that woman right there, Mrs. Farrar, kicking my keys, kicking my shoes because my shoes fell off. And he's screaming penal codes, telling her to go call the police. She needs to get arrested for this or that and the other. And
what kind of documentation do you have, Miss Hughes?
I have the pictures with my assault bruises that I had. I have my, I went to the emergency room, and I have...
I'd like to see everything that you have.
Okay.
Gotcha. Now, you are not still living at the complex, is that right? When did you move?
3 days after that incident on 123.
Had you been previously served with an eviction notice?
Yes.
When?
November, the beginning of November.
November of 2003.
Yes.
Prior to him beginning employment there, you were served with an eviction notice for what?
Payment due.
You had not paid rent?
Correct.
How long had you not paid rent?
It was 2 months, actually.
Any reason why you didn't pay rent?
Well, my roommate could not come up with her half. Her mother just died. She was going through a lot of financial problems, and I could not fork her half of the rent.
So you didn't pay anything?
No, they would not accept any partial payments, ma'am.
Well, you could have paid if in October you didn't pay your half. In November, you could have paid your half of November and your half of October. That would have been a whole month.
Yeah, that's true.
So you decided if your roommate couldn't pay anything, you weren't going to pay anything either. Is that right?
Basically.
Basically. Okay. All right, Mr. Farrar, let me hear your version of these events, sir.
Well, if she's right, we did go down into the garage, and I was with Norma.
Who's Norma?
Norma's my former wife and now an employee. We were married 20 years ago. And I already had an altercation with her about a week before that.
What kind of an altercation?
About 8 policemen were coming out of her apartment, and I went over to the apartment to find out what had happened. And she lit a cigarette. She said, "It's none of your business," and threw it in my face. And then her roommate pulled her back in and shut the door.
Don't speak. Don't
Pulled
speak.
her back in and shut the door. So I checked with some of the fellows in the police department to find out what had been going on in that apartment, and I found out that there was a numerous calls there, something like 41 calls in 2 years.
You have the
Yes,
log
I do.
of those calls?
I do. I have
What
some
were the
of them.
calls for, Miss Hughes?
Oh, I'd like to see him myself, ma'am.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him myself the day that he's talking about.
No, I'm
the day
not-
the
I'm
police
talking
did
about-
come.
And
My
there's your,
8-year-old daughter
there's your-
called the police
Listen
by
to me,
accident.
Miss Hughes. I didn't
but I
ask you-
like a
I
log of
didn't-
the 41 calls.
I didn't ask you about the day. I said I'm just asking you whether...
One of them involved weapons.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Andrea Hughes claims she was assaulted by her former landlord, James Farrar. James says Andrea is looking for a free ride.
There are a lot of calls here to your apartment, madam.
You know, I personally have seen the police at my house twice.
Good. Okay, that's all. Would you please tell me what happened on January 23rd, 04, sir? You and your wife followed her down to the garage for any particular ex-wife, for any particular reason?
Yeah, I was going down there to look at some work being done on the elevators. We had the elevators remodeled. They were in bad shape. And her car was to the right. I was going to the left. She got in the car, and she opened the trunk, or she got to the trunk area, opened the trunk, and started throwing stuff out into the garage area. And then, of course, there was a lot of bad, blistering language going on at the time in reference to my previous marriage with Norma. She got in her car and peeled out, went out the gate. That's the last I saw of her. So I finished checking on the work, went back up to the office area.
Listen to me. I don't want you to say anything.
Wow.
I went back over to the other garage where the manager at that time, Stellar On, was were waiting for her to come. So Stellar pulls in, maybe 10 minutes after she left, not even that. So we left, went back to the office area, and there she was with a dog. And the dog was urinating on the planter at the time. She was smoking a cigarette and had the door open. That day, she had a TRO dropped by Stellar On.
Who's Stellar On?
She was the existing manager at the time.
So the existing manager of the building had a restraining order against Miss Hughes?
Yes.
May I see a copy of it, please?
I don't have it because they dropped it because she
They
couldn't
dropped it
articulate.
twice.
But I do have 2 restraining orders on tenants
They
at the
dropped it
building.
twice.
Yeah, I see them, please.
Sure. These are people she assaulted during her tenancy there. These are still enforced, by the way. 2 of my witnesses that couldn't make it today.
I have temporary restraining orders issued. You were the defendant, Miss Hughes. The protected persons are somebody by the name of Sean and Adam.
We had parking issues there in underground parking.
Okay. Shh. I just asked you.
Yes,
question.
correct.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Farrar.
Anyways, I came back, and she was talking to Stellar at the time at first, and Stellar told her to put her dog on a leash. And she said, with a cigarette, right at Stellar, "I don't have to do any damn thing I don't want to do." And I'm going to leave out the profanity as best I can. But it would have blistered the doggone walls of this room. It's that bad. So I asked her, please leave the area, go to your apartment. We had mothers and children.
Whatever.
coming.
You told her to
Okay.
get. You told her to get out, and I wouldn't.
Yeah, I did.
Okay,
I
told
told
her
her
to get
go
out.
back to her apartment and get out of there. So
Go ahead.
3 or
Keep
4
going.
times. Finally, she said she wasn't going to leave. And I placed her under citizen arrest for 415 PC, which is disturbance of peace.
Okay.
I told Stellar to call the Torrance Police Department and have them roll.
And
At that point, I'm standing here, she's standing there, the office corner is here, Norma's here, and Stellar's looking around the corner. She tried to step around me going towards the direction of the 2 managers. I did what I instinctively been trained to do. I stood in her way. And when I did, her body went
They
into
didn't
me.
train you to put a chokehold on someone,
Hughes,
sir, and
Miss
take them to
Hughes,
the ground.
Miss Hughes.
That's not what the police
We don't play
department
softball.
told you to do.
Do you see how quiet he was when you were speaking?
He's thinking of his lies very good.
Madam, you wouldn't know the truth if it came up and slapped you in the face. So you put her in a chokehold, and that's what she's complaining about. Is that right?
Correct.
You got a bad temper, Miss Hughes. Everybody who has contact with you seems to have a problem with you, and you have no problem with anybody. You had no problem with the prior building managers. You have no problem with the tenants.
I know I had
No,
never
you have
had
any problem?
problems.
And you had no problem paying your rent, and you had no problem living like a good tenant? You had no problem at all?
Me paying my rent doesn't have anything to do with me physically getting harmed, ma'am.
Oh, yes, it does, madam. Yes, it does. There's a certain entitlement that one thinks that one has when you believe that you can take property, take things that don't belong to you without payment, like a place to live. I'd say, sue me. Go ahead. It's going to take you 3-4 months to get me out of this apartment. Meanwhile, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to make a big, fat pain in the for myself, which is exactly what you did. Exactly. Because when you were telling me your side of the story, I was listening. I was perfectly prepared to listen to you and to say maybe this man overextended, maybe this man who was a former police officer or a peace officer got a little carried away with himself. But I was watching you testify, and you wouldn't know the truth if it came up and bit you in the behind. And I want to tell you something. You're not going to take advantage of the judicial system by seeking redress in the court for something that your bad behavior started. So your lawsuit's dismissed. Now, I'm going to get to your counterclaim. But for the fact that she filed this lawsuit, would you be here today?
No.
Good. So let's say goodbye to each other. She's no longer a tenant, is that right?
That's
Good. Goodbye,
right.
your case is dismissed and your counterclaim is withdrawn. Thank you very much.
That's so great in your life. You are so great. I was a very good tenant. He was the one that just came aboard. I'd been there for 2.5 years. If I wasn't a good tenant, I wouldn't have been there that long.
She actually had most of the building in fear, and this is a 90-unit building.
There's no criminal charges against anyone that lived in that household. Rather, there was 100 of 911 phone calls.
She's being sentenced tomorrow morning for a felony, domestic violence, where she took a knife to her roommate.
That man assaulted me, and he knows he assaulted me. He snuck up on me and assaulted me for no reason at all.
It's just a pity that a young woman her age can't control her rage and her anger, that tries to intimidate her way through life, and this is what she's been doing. And Judge Judy saw right through it.
Construction worker Ron King is suing his ex-fiancée, customer service rep Candy Oliveri, for a loan and an engagement ring. Candy is countersuing, claiming Ron has been harassing her.
Folks, have a seat.
Mr. King, Miss Oliveri was your fiancée. That relationship terminated. You want the ring back, and you also want a loan that you made to her returned. In addition to that, you claim that she has harassed you. You want to be compensated for the harassment, and Miss Oliveri says that the ring was not an engagement ring, there was never a loan made, and that you, in fact, have been harassing her. She is counterclaiming. How long were you a couple?
About 5-6 months.
Had you ever been married before?
Yes,
How many times?
twice.
How old are you?
42.
Who is this?
This is my girlfriend, Shelley.
You just roll right into... Don't let any moss grow, huh? Okay. So first, let me hear about the loans, sir. When did you make the loans to her? What were they for?
They were for her kids to get an apartment.
These your children?
Yes, they are.
Why did they have to get an apartment?
Well, I guess he got kicked out of his dad's house, and I guess her and her boyfriend split up, and then Candy was living with me for a while, then she brought her daughter in, then her grandson, then her other daughter.
Sounds to me like you got out just in time.
Whew. Yes.
So I wouldn't sue her, sir. I would say thank you and thank you, Lord. And be on my way.
Thank you, Lord.
I want you to tell me about the commitment that she made to you with regard to repaying the money.
When I lent her the money in June to get the apartment, it was for her kids. They were staying with me. And every month got longer and longer, and then in June, the guy called and said, yes, the apartment's ready. So on June 28th of 04, I lent her $300.
That's not so, Your Honor. It was not a loan. When I offered to pay it back, he said, no, whatever you need. And it was not for months on end that my oldest daughter and my grandson lived with Ron and I.
When you say you offered to pay it back, that suggests to me that there was an initial agreement to pay him back. So there was a time when he gave you this money that you intended to pay him back. That's what your statement suggests to me.
But we lived together and shared expenses.
You didn't share expenses for taking care of your children. These adult children are not his responsibility.
Right, no.
So you took the $300, and then you tried to give him the $300 back.
I offered.
Well, what do you mean you offered? You must have said to him, can you loan me the $300? And he said yes.
Whatever you need, is what were his words.
Okay. All right, Swifty, $300. Now, let me hear about the ring.
On August 1st, she looked for like 3.5 to 4 hours looking at a ring. Then she finally picked one out, and I proposed to her when we got the ring. And like 3 days later, after she got the ring, she came back from work saying, "This ring's a piece of, you know, everyone has one just like it. I hate this ring." And then that day she said, "I hate this house. You should have a nice new house, you know, or at least put a new front door on or something." My house in 1940, but it's my house anyways.
What'd the ring look like, Mr. King?
Had 3 stones.
What kind of stones?
Diamonds.
Where's the ring?
On my finger.
Can I see it, please?
Sure.
What did he say to you when he gave you the ring, Miss Oliveri?
The initial plan was to go and find a ring, to have a ring on my finger before we actually ordered a ring that we were going to have customized at another jeweler. So this was just something for the mere fact that we were going to be married in June of 2005.
Looks like a nice engagement ring to me.
I have the actual drawing of the ring that we both went to look at.
When did you go to look at another ring? After you bought this one or before?
Well before, in May.
And did he ever purchase that ring?
No.
Good, because he purchased this one. Who paid for this?
I am paying for it.
Good, you get it. Give it back to him. Now you got it.
Thank you.
And you have $300.
Thank you.
You want to get to the harassment, sir?
Me? Yes. On September 18th, I went to her house to pick up the ring and the money.
Why did you do that?
She told me to come to her house. If I wanted my stuff, I was supposed to go to her house and pick it up.
What
And
stuff?
I have a little bit of clothes there, like a sweatshirt and stuff like that.
Your Honor, that's not so.
Just a second, I'll get to you in a minute. Go ahead.
So I went there to pick it up. When I got there, they didn't want to answer the door, and I could hear the little baby in there. And then her daughter said, "My mom's not here. I called the police or whatever." And I said, "Okay, you know, I just came to get my stuff that I was told to get." Then I guess she filed a restraining order on me the next day. And on Monday, she called my employer, and here's a letter from my employer that she called my employer harassing me at work too, and she's the one who did the harassing, not me.
Why did you call his job?
Just to inform human resources of the type of person that we were dealing with.
They were dealing with the same person who's been employed by them for 25 years. Evidently, they have not had a problem.
Outside of work, he's a totally different person.
That may be, but I don't see any reason for you to call his place of employment, where he's been employed for almost a quarter of a century, unless you're just being spiteful and miserable.
Not at all.
Not at all. Not
being
spiteful, not miserable.
Not at all.
Uh-huh. Go ahead.
I also have police logs on the 2 situations that took place, the 18th and the 19th.
I'll take a look at it.
And I have the actual restraining order if you'd like to take a look at it as well.
Is it a final order?
Yes, it is, for
Can
1
I
year.
see it? Did you have a trial, Mr. King?
Yes.
And after the trial, the judge entered a restraining order telling you to stay away from her house.
Actually, I was like, they had jury duty that day, and there was a big line, so I was late getting into the courtroom.
Yeah.
And so I never heard nothing from the judge. They just gave me that paper.
So you did not have a trial.
No.
So there was a default because you didn't show up.
Yes.
Well-
And on that case,
Yeah.
she has a friend who's a judge over there in Rancho Cucamonga. He called my house on the 20th to tell me to appear in court on the 21st.
That was not a judge, Your Honor. He was to be subpoenaed over the telephone.
Are you telling me that someone notified him a day in advance to appear in court?
That was for the initial, not for the actual hearing. That was for from the 18th and
Listen
the 19th.
to me, Mr. King. I'm not sure what kind of a vindictive person she is. So if the reason you didn't appear here was because you got stuck on the line or because you had another valid reason, I would ask that this case be reopened, because if she doesn't have the basis for a restraining order, you don't want a restraining order hanging around for a year. Do you understand? It's totally up to you.
Yes, ma'am.
You got it? All right. Now you want to tell me about the harassment?
Yes, it was on September 18th.
That he came to your house?
Right. Tried to open up my door. They threw a substance on my car. There was a police report, and it's also on your desk there.
I want to see who saw him throw a substance on your car.
We did not see because my car was parked to the left
I
of
want
my...
to know is I want a witness who saw him throw something on your car. And you didn't have anybody.
No.
Oh, good.
The children were a witness of the threat that his girlfriend, Shelley, shouted out.
That has nothing to do with him.
She was there.
Who
She
cares?
did it as well, and him trying to open up my front door.
He wanted to get his stuff back, Miss Oliveri. Your counterclaim is dismissed on the complaint. Judgment for the plaintiff. He has his property back and also $300. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you.
Why does that excuse you? May I step out?
She told me to come to her house to pick it up. I went there to pick it up, and then she filed a restraining order on me.
It was a shock to me 2 days later when I came home and he wasn't there.
They thought that she was my mom, and threatened to kill her and all kinds of stuff.
A bunch of lies, and she was trying to get me for what she could.
National Guard Administrator Wendy Moore is suing homemaker Nelda Bailey for her son's medical bills and car repair bills. Wendy says Nelda's daughter was killed when the girl drove her car without permission and rolled it. Nelda's countersuing for her daughter's funeral expenses.
Quiet in the courtroom.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Wendy Moore says homemaker Nelda Bailey owes for her son's medical bills and car repair bills due to an accident caused by Nelda's deceased daughter.
Madam, there is
Assistant Maria D'Alessandro for having him falsely arrested and for slandering him. Maria says Derek violated a restraining order.
All rise. All rise. Yes, this is case number 468 on the calendar in the matter of Broussard versus D'Alessandro. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
Mr. Broussard, this young lady used to be your landlord.
Yes.
And according to your complaint, she embarked upon a course of conduct of harassment, filing false restraining orders against you, ultimately evicting you from the place where you had lived for some period of time. You want to be compensated for that.
Right.
And Ms. D'Alessandro said everything that she said was in her applications were true, and you were a terrible tenant. You also have a claim against her for slander. You say that when you ultimately applied to other apartments to rent, and they called her to verify your tenancy, she said bad things about you, so it made it virtually impossible for you to get another apartment.
That's correct.
Now, I gather, Mr. Broussard, that you lived in this house. It was a house?
She lived in the house up front. I lived in an apartment in the back.
And you had lived there prior to Miss D'Alessandro moving in because a relative of hers owned the house, and you were the relative's tenant.
Right.
Who was the relative?
My mother.
And what was her name?
Loretta Wallace.
When did you first move into this apartment in the back?
It was approximately 7 years ago.
Did Loretta Wallace ever bring eviction proceedings against you?
Never.
When for the first time did you file notice to quit or pay against the plaintiff?
That would have been in early October 2003.
What happened?
After I had received title to the house, or during the time the transfer was going on, I was in the process of sort of getting my ducks in the row to start making renovations on the apartment building.
What apartment building?
There's the house in the front is where I live. There's a 3-unit apartment building at the rear of the property. And
you live in one of those units?
Right.
Go ahead.
Everything was going smoothly as far as I was concerned, and I had actually started to make renovations in one of the other apartments and had told Mr. Broussard and his girlfriend, I said, look, you know, I'm going to be doing the same thing to your unit at some point very soon, and, you know, just to let them know what was going on and that I didn't forget about them.
When you were making the renovations in the other unit, where were the tenants in the other unit?
That unit was vacant, and the renovations were very extensive.
Go ahead.
So at the end of September, I was at home and I was watering the lawn, and Mr. Broussard came and knocked on my screen door and was complaining about the fact that water was getting on his girlfriend's car. And I told him, I said, you know what, just a minute, I'm on the phone, I'll be with you as soon as I can. He insisted, and he became belligerent, and I stepped outside of the kitchen because I was going to go to the back and simply turn the water off just to get him off of my back. And then he engaged in this verbal tirade in my face so close that he started to spit on me. And it was at that time, it was like, okay, you know what, that's it. You know, I had to do what I felt I needed to do in order to ensure my personal safety, because I was living on the property at the same time, and I didn't feel comfortable with him being there anymore, let alone the fact that he and his girlfriend were going to have to move anyway, because I was going to have to gut the unit to renovate it.
Got it?
Got it.
I didn't have any problems with them, and neither
Let me
did my
ask you this
mother.
question, sir. You want to give me your version of what happened?
Yes, I do, ma'am.
On that date in
Part
October?
of that was true. She did have the sprinklers up real high, and she was home. I went and knocked on the door. I said, Maria, you're soaking our cars. And she looked at me and she said, well, you should have moved them, and slammed the door in my face. And I was shocked. I guess I was holding the screen door, and I must have closed it too hard, and I really upset her. Next thing I know, she comes flying out the door, getting in my face. Now, she's a woman, challenging me as if she's a man. We exchanged a few words, a few unpleasantries. I won't lie about that. but I never put my hands on her, and I called myself, so you know what? Let me get away from her before she says I did something to her, before somebody sees me arguing with a woman. As I'm walking away, her boyfriend comes flying up, and I'm walking away going to my house. He comes and gets in my face, and he says, well, basically, Derek, you and Denise have to move. I said, who are you? He said, that's my girlfriend.
Would you stand up straight, please?
I said, but this doesn't concern you. I said, I can stay here as long as I want to. You don't have anything to do with this property or this matter. I said, get out of my face. So I turned and I walked in the house. And me knowing her, the type of person she is, I knew she was going to do something treacherous, you know, by the first of the month. We decided we're going to make sure this rent is due exactly on the 1st. I don't want any funny business with her. Well, we paid our rent on the 1st. She accepted the rent. I have a canceled check. I have a receipt.
Can I see it, please? Mr. Alessandro, did you speak to an attorney before you decided that Mr. Broussard and his girlfriend were going to have to move so that you can do renovations?
Yes, I did, ma'am.
And did the attorney tell you that you can't have them move just because you decided to do renovations on their unit?
No, he did not.
He should have.
Well, and that was
he should have.
Ma'am, that was not the reason why I proceeded with the eviction proceedings against Mr. Broussard.
Just
no,
a second.
It was not.
Oh, yeah, it was.
No, it was not.
The coincidence of you renovating one apartment and then saying to me a moment ago, and he was going to have to move anyway because I was going to totally gut his apartment. Oh, no, he wasn't.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Oh, no, he wasn't.
The reason why I filed for eviction against him.
That's the exact reason, because that's what the lawyer probably told you.
No, he did not.
There has to be a reason for you. Mr. Alessandro, I want to tell you something. You think you're smarter than I am?
I do not,
You are
ma'am.
not. You are not. And I've been a judge for a very long time, and things usually happen in a rhythm. And let me explain the rhythm to you that is factual. Fact is, he lived there since 1997. Fact is, between 1997 and 2003, neither you nor your mother before you had occasion to file any kind of charges against Mr. Broussard or his girlfriend. Fact. The same month, according to you, that the title passed to you in the house, you decided to get your ducks in the water and remodel the unit behind the house. And according to you, he came and got in your face on that day, and you decided you had to do something to get him out because he was going to, according to you, quote, a moment ago, he was going to have to move anyway because I was going to gut the apartment. That's what you just told me. Those are the objective facts. And what you would have me believe is that all of a sudden this man who had been a reasonable tenant for 7 years became a psychopath.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Derek Broussard says former landlord Maria D'Alessandro had him falsely arrested for violating a restraining order. Derek also says after he moved out, Maria slandered him to potential landlords.
On October 1st, he gave you a check, stated September 30th.
Yes.
I have a receipt for it.
Yes,
Did you
ma'am.
file a notice to quit because he had not paid rent?
No, yes. I was advised to file the 3-day as well as the 60-day based on the fact that Mr. Broussard was habitually late in paying his rent over a period of time.
Just a second. So what you're telling me is that you filed a notice for him to vacate the premises, not because he was late in October, because he wasn't late in October because he paid you the rent on time.
Right.
But because it started to bother you that before that he hadn't paid his rent.
It didn't bother me. It didn't bother me, and it didn't bother my mother.
So what did you file a complaint for?
I filed the complaint because I felt unsafe with Mr. Broussard being there after he verbally attacked me.
Then what I'm saying to you is, you're not following me, madam. What I said was, he didn't bother anybody before, didn't bother your mother before, didn't bother you before. When he started to bother you was in October when you decided to make renovations on the apartment. Those are the objective facts.
I did not make the decision in October, ma'am. I had started the work on the unit earlier in that summer, approximately June or July.
On his unit?
No, because they were still in it. I couldn't do it.
Right.
But that is not the reason why I filed eviction against him at all.
I don't believe
my mother, I have evidence in here that shows that prior to 2003, Mr. Broussard had a record, a pattern of actually tendering checks that came back NSF.
You just told me, madam, you got to keep your story straight. I'm speaking and you're not listening. You just told me that the reason you gave him the notice to quit was not because of rent. You just said to me the reason I gave him the notice to leave was because I felt unsafe. Well, what is it? Rent or unsafe? Think hard. Think hard.
The
rent unsafe.
The rent was not the rent was not the issue.
Okay, now the rent was not the issue. Is that, I'm speaking, the rent was not the issue. Can I see your notice to leave? Do you have it?
It's in there. And here's the...
Just a minute. Shh. Well, you certainly say here that the reason you gave him the notice, madam, was because of rent.
What document is that you're looking at?
Take a look.
I will say, in my defense...
Just a second. That's...
Yes, ma'am.
Pay attention to me. What's the reason you give in the notice for him to leave?
See, the attorney's office filed this on October the 15th. They made an error, and I have a note in here that verifies that.
Give it to me.
The note?
No, give me the papers back.
The detainer.
Give me the papers back.
The attorney's office acknowledged that they filed the unlawful detainer in error.
When did you file your application for a protective order?
October the 24th.
So, October 15th, they acknowledged they made a mistake, and they withdrew that.
No, not on October the 15th.
Well,
they did not acknowledge that they made the mistake. I did not know that the unlawful detainer had been filed until the morning of October the 21st, and I have a copy of that paper in here.
Oh, okay.
Now, on October the 21st, when I called the attorney's office to say, what are you doing? I called you on October the 2nd to tell you that they had paid their rent in full and to remove the 3-day and maintain
so
the 60-day.
you told them that on the 21st of October.
That was the only time I knew that the unlawful detainer had been filed.
Listen to me carefully. So now we get to this objective data. The objective fact is that on the 21st, because you knew that you couldn't get them out because they had in fact paid their rent, right?
That's not...
3 days later, you filed a protection order against them. Now let me see the allegations on which you based the protective order. Let me see it.
Restraining order. Is that what you asked?
I want to see the underlying allegations where she filed for a protective order. Underlying allegations. Can I see it, please? Description of the conduct. October 2nd, defendant observed plaintiff banging loudly on her back door. Garbage left in the area surrounding plaintiff's residence, and the defendant observed burning rubber in the driveway. October 3rd, he called you a name. October 17th, broken beer bottles left in front of her garage. So all of these things happened, and you filed this 3 days after you told the lawyer you better withdraw that because he paid his rent.
That's because I was hoping he was just going to leave me alone.
Madam, you are full of baloney.
No, ma'am, I am not.
And I believe that the reason you got him out and the reason you filed for a violation is because there was no other way to get him out. He had been a tenant. He had been a tenant for 7 years. You wanted to renovate those 3 apartments, and the only way to get him out was to have him arrested, which is what you did. Judgment for the plaintiff, and the amount requested, $5,000.
That's not the reason why. Congratulations, you got your money.
Judge Judy.
Good, you got you some money now.
I was trying to get over it, but something inside of me told me don't let her get away with this.
It's breaking beer bottles. Okay, so what? I cleaned it up.
38 years, been a law-abiding citizen, and for her just to say, take him away, like I'm a piece of meat.
It's a lot more pleasant place to live now.
She's had ex-boyfriends vandalize her property, so she felt like she could blame it all on me.
He can move on. I've moved on.
Oh, man, I'm so happy. I love Judge Judy.
And now the next case. For the cost of a plane ticket to Lisbon, Portugal.
This used to be your boyfriend. He's not your boyfriend anymore.
That's correct.
You and your family, I assume your family, were going to Portugal to visit relatives. It is your claim that you laid out money for him to go on that family trip with the understanding that he was going to pay you back.
That's correct.
Mr. Spearman says there was never an agreement to pay you back for the trip. You wanted him to accompany you. You wanted him to meet your family. And he didn't have the money, so you agreed to pay for it.
Yes.
Well, tell me about the agreement that you had with him, Mr. Santos.
I had spoken to him about possibly going, and I had wanted him to go. And he had always told me that he wanted to go to Europe, and he had wanted to visit several places in Europe. So I suggested for him to come with me, and he wanted to. So I purchased a plane ticket, and he had always told me that he was going to pay me back.
Why didn't he purchase the plane ticket?
He did not have a credit card, I believe, and he didn't have enough money to purchase it himself.
So he had no money?
Yeah, not at all.
Well, how could he go on a trip if he had no money?
Well, he had just started working in a new job, and he said that he was going to pay me back when he got the money.
Did you agree to pay her back?
Never.
Well, tell me how it happened, Mr. Spearman.
Well, we were dating on and off, and she originally went to see her parents down there. So she had the ticket to go down there. Well, we were broken up. We got back together. That's why she was going down there when I went. Sorry, a little nervous.
Try looking at me.
Sorry.
That'll make you even more nervous.
I know.
Jennifer DeSantis says ex-boyfriend Dwayne Spearman owes for the cost of a trip to Portugal. Dwayne claims that Jennifer insisted he accompany her.
Go ahead.
I had to get the time off work at first, which I didn't think I was going to be able to do. When they said I could have the time off, I told her, all right, I could come, but I don't have the money. I have a bank statement that shows I didn't have any money. I was in the negatives.
She agrees you had no money.
Yes. She told everyone she was going to pay for me. She told my witness. She told my parents. Even on her live journal, I have a paper that says that she would pay for the plane ticket. I was like, why not?
Well, first let me see the paper that says she's going to pay for the plane ticket. Well, it absolutely says, I bought his plane ticket. He's visiting for 7 days. This is so blank. Fabulous. I want to show him so much blank. So much to do, so little time to do it. I have a good feeling about this.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I have a conversation that took place between both of us stating that he would pay me back.
I'd like to see it.
I highlighted some of the main parts, and there's 2 screen names listed. I don't know if you can figure it out.
He says, I said I'll pay you back eventually.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing that for myself. Technically, though, I didn't want to go. You offered, I said yes. I'd win. It's your word against mine. But then you do agree to pay her back, sir, right?
He just kept hounding me.
No, that was the first time I had spoken to him since we broke up. And then I spoke to him afterwards, and he had told me that after that conversation took place, and he said he was not going to pay me back.
She's only doing this out of spite, though. There's no
She just
spite. Wanted me to go after we broke up. It's the only time this ever came about.
I tend to believe you.
Your Honor, may I see that for a second?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Your Honor, may I step up and say something?
Absolutely.
I was
First,
there.
tell me your name.
I'm Andrew Palua. I was there the day that they told me that they were going to Portugal, and I kept on making jokes, you know, he's in debt, he can't afford it. She blatantly said it was a gift, and he did not have to pay her back on many occasions.
Just a second. Didn't you hear what I just said? I know that you had something that you were dying to get out and dying to say. But is there anything different from what you said than what I just said?
No.
Then you can sit down. Thank you very much. I have other things to do today. Have you looked at that now?
Yes, I actually have comments about it.
Go ahead.
I mean, I'm not denying it, but any person, I know 9th graders that could type this up and then bring it to court.
I'm not 9th graders. I got news for you. I couldn't type it up on that machine, whatever that machine is, and I've had more than a 9th grade education. The question is, did you in fact write it?
Yes.
Fine.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't think it should be used in court, though, because anybody could lie.
Well, when
it's not in me to lie. That's why.
Listen to me. If you had said to me, Mr. Spearman, I didn't write that, then I would say, look, you have to prove that he wrote that. But you did. I believe she wanted you to go. I believe she had a good feeling about your relationship, and she wanted to share the European experience with someone that she cared about. I believe that after you broke up, when you came back, then, Mr. Spearman, you're probably a man of good conscience, and you agreed to pay her, right?
Yes.
Now, how much was the ticket?
$1,101.
Okay. And I tell you right now that the expenses that you had while you were in Portugal were limited. Your parents took you out for most of the meals that you were there, and whatever other money that you spent, you spent. But I believe he has the responsibility to pay you back for his airplane ticket. You agree with that, sir?
No, but I respect it.
I'm glad, because that email, or whatever that is, that conversation that you had, suggests that you are a man of good character. You don't want me to think otherwise, do you?
No.
Great. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,101. That's all.
Pardon your excuse. You may step out.
Save our relationship.
It's untrue. I'm happy in a new relationship, and it has nothing to do with that.
Probably no future, ever.
It's ancient history. I'm moving away, and I can't wait to be gone from all of it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lopez versus Valladares, step forward, please.
25-year-old nurse's aide, Karina Lopez, is suing her former friend, 27-year-old nursing attendant, City of Valladares, for ripping the seat of her car. Karina says the incident took place during a night of drinking and clubbing.
Ms. Lopez, on the 15th of January, you, the defendant, and a bunch of other friends decided to go clubbing. You met at somebody's house. According to you, the defendant started to drink. She also took some medication. She said she had a headache. She got very drunk. You went to the club. You drove in your car. The defendant tried to get into the club, and she was denied entrance to the club because, according to, I think, both of you, she was too drunk. They wouldn't let her in. So you put her in your car.
Right.
to sleep it off, and you went in with your friends to the club. And when you came out of the club, you found the defendant still in your car, and the seat in the car was cut. She says she doesn't remember doing anything to your car and doesn't know how that damage occurred. Do you have pictures of the car?
Yes, I do.
Let me see it. Now, is this on the front passenger seat or the rear
Front passenger seat.
Is that the seat that she was sitting with driving to the club?
No.
Who was sitting in that passenger seat?
Miss Hara.
That's this lady?
Yes.
Okay. When she exited the car, what time was it?
Miss Hara, it was 10:30.
At night?
Right.
Dark?
Yes.
And you didn't examine the car when she left?
No.
Did you examine the car before she got into the car at 10:30?
Yes.
You looked in the car seat? Don't say anything that's not true. If you say anything that's not true, I will hold that suspect. If something doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. Do you understand?
Yes.
Where did you find Miss Valdares?
Yes.
When you came back to the car 2.5 hours later, where was she seated?
In the front passenger seat.
And what was she doing?
Sleeping.
Did you see any sharp objects in her hand?
No.
Did you see what had caused the damage to the car?
No.
Did anyone see what had caused the damage to the car?
No.
So how do you intend to prove that the defendant caused the damage to the car?
Well,
This looks like a tear. Looks like something got caught on it. That's what it looks like. It looks like something got caught on it.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you going to prove that she did it?
Well, before leaving for the club, Ms. Valladares and I met at Ms. Hara's residence, where Ms. Valladares had some alcohol drinks.
She's drunk. I've already laid the framework. She was drunk. You knew she was drunk. You went to the club. They wouldn't let her in. You put her in the car. You came out. She was still sitting, according to you, in the front seat of the car. And later on, you noticed the car was ripped.
As we helped Ms. Valladares exit the car, that's when I realized that it was a tear on the seat.
And you saw no sharp objects in her hand?
No. I did not search Ms. Valladares. I don't know what happened. All I know is that the tear was not there.
No, all you know is the tear was not there when she got into the car.
Right. Ms. Valladares was also experiencing a lot of pain. The reason why she took the pain reliever is because she had gotten her tongue pierced the previous day.
What does that have to do with, what does that have to do
well,
with
I'm assuming that maybe she was in a lot of pain and I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know how it happened. Neither do you.
Your Honor, may I come up?
Sure.
When we went to drop off Celia to the car when Celia let her inside the club, the tear wasn't there.
You don't know that at all.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
I helped Karina put her
You don't
in
know
the
that
car.
at all. Madam,
it
listen to me.
There.
10:30 at night. It's dark. She's
dark.
getting into the car. You're struggling to get somebody who's drunk in the car. Don't lie. Miss Valladares says that you took her property and refused to give her back her property, her pocketbook, her keys, her cell phone, unless she agreed to pay for this. Did you do that?
No, Your Honor. Ms. Valladares left her property behind in my car. She called me later on the following day and said she would come by and pick up her belongings. She never showed up. On the 17th, I offered to deliver her belongings to her. She said she had a lot of things to do and was going to be unavailable that day. On the 22nd, when I finally seen her, I delivered all her belongings to her.
Were the police called at any point?
Yes.
Did you call the police?
Yes, Your Honor.
Police contact you?
Yes.
They told you you had to give her property back?
No, they contacted me because the police officers said that Ms. Valladares feared for her safety at work. That's what I was told.
At that point, did you give her back her property?
On the 22nd, when I finally
answer
seen
my
her.
question. After the police spoke to you, did you give her back her property?
No, they didn't ask for it, and they did not want to take possession of her property. I offered to give her property to the police officer because I was unable to contact Ms. Valladares.
Okay. Get a patch for the seat, madam. You cannot establish that, to my satisfaction, that she caused the damage to your car, and you have no right to take her property and hold it hostage. That's all.
Well, you're excused. You may step out.
I was just going out to have fun with somebody, and because I felt that I could trust her.
When Ms. Valladares exited the car, I seen the tear.
She said that somebody was going to get killed if I didn't pay for her car.
Not true.
We don't have a friendship no more. I thought she was a good friend before, but apparently not.
Now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Rushworth versus Tripp, step forward.
Broker coordinator Sheila Rushworth is suing her ex-boyfriend, project manager Clay Tripp, for breaking an apartment lease and for his share of household bills. Clay says Sheila kicked him out.
Miss Rushworth, you have 2 children, is that right?
Yes, I do.
How old are they?
14 and just turned 11.
According to your complaint, you and Mr. Tripp were in a relationship and decided to lease an apartment or a home together.
Correct.
You did so and moved in with your 2 children. There came a time when the 2 of you weren't getting along anymore. Mr. Tripp moved out of the apartment.
Yes.
There was an altercation. He moved out of the apartment, and you want him to pay his share of the remainder of the lease because you evidently had an agreement where you would each pay half the rent.
Correct, yes.
In addition, you say that he left owing some household bills and that you lost some days' pay because he filed a false restraining order against you that you had to take time to have resolved. Mr. Tripp says that you harassed him by phone after the breakup, which inspired his request for a protective order, that he owes you nothing for the rent because you had an agreement, according to him, that he can establish, and that agreement was you told him in exchange for keeping his part of the security deposit, you would take care of the rest of the rent and bills. And it wasn't until after you ascertained that he was in another relationship, a relationship where he was having a child with somebody else, that you decided that he owed you the money. That's your defense.
That's right.
When did you sign this lease, Miss Rushworth?
I had originally lived in the home for 1 year prior to signing the lease with the defendant.
How were you paying the rent at that time?
The rent at that time was at a reduced amount. It was at $1,100 a month. Once Clay moved in with us, it was then increased to $1,600 a month.
When did Mr. Tripp sign the lease?
The lease was signed by both of us on May 1st, and I have a copy of that.
And prior to May 1st of 2004, you lived there for 1 year paying the rent all by yourself.
Correct, and I have a copy of the first page of that lease as well.
Okay. You had already paid $1,100 as security deposit. There was another $500 owed. Who paid the $500?
There was an additional $500 for the security deposit
That's what I said.
Borrowed from my parents.
Is that correct, Mr. Tripp?
Your Honor, I'll have to say that, no, I believe I put the money up for that security deposit at that time.
You have a check?
No, I don't have a check. I paid in cash. We did, however, live together in that home from July of the year previously with the knowledge of the owner, who insisted we sign the lease come the next turn of events.
Ah, I see. So you lived there for almost a year.
Almost a year.
Paying $1,100 a month rent.
Precisely, which was below market, but it was right next.
And how much did you contribute of the $1,100?
Half.
Is that right?
Yes.
Where is the father of your 2 children?
My 14-year-old's father lives in Mira Mesa.
How much child support does he pay?
He pays $335 a month.
Father of your other child?
He lives in Colorado, and he pays $300 a month.
Okay, let's get to the rent. When did you move out, sir?
I moved out December 1st.
What precipitated your moving out?
The tensions had increased over finances, and basically she told me to get out of her house in no uncertain terms.
Is that right, Miss Rushworth?
Minus a few details, is correct.
So you told him to leave?
That was because he threw water at me. He threw a glass of water at me, and then after that...
So was what you're telling me, you want the rent on this house from December when he left until the end of the lease in May?
Yes.
You're not going to get it. You were living there with your 2 children, so that you were 3 people, he's 1 person, and yet from the time he moved in, he paid half the bills. So, quite honestly, I don't know what you're doing here with regard to the rent.
That's exactly why we're here, because the 2 of us couldn't decide on the rent and how it should be handled. As far as the other remaining portion of it, the monthly bills that we had, household bills that we had in effect at the time he left, is all I'm asking for him to pay his share of. The SDG&E, the trash, the water, the cable.
Well, how much does that come to?
When you take off the rent, it's about $1,000.
And when he gave you money prior to you having difficulty, did he give you money by check or cash for these bills?
He would give me cash depending on the amount of his check, but for the 3 months prior to this event occurring, he was having his wages garnished by the IRS, so they would take $1,200 of his check If he only had $300 or $400 out of the check, he might give me 100 of it.
That's what happens when you play house.
Sure. That's exactly, and that's what I mean by sometimes it was more.
Then I've just resolved the issue for you, madam.
The items that he's saying he's paid.
I've just resolved the issue for you, madam. It's over. It's over. You played house for a while. It didn't work out. He does not strike me as a deadbeat. What he did was say to you, I am in effect assisting and supporting your children.
He also would work from home.
So what difference does that make?
Which facilitates...
No. Shh.
Yes, Your Honor.
That doesn't make any difference. Miss Rushworth. If he worked out of your home, that means he worked out of the home that he had before you, I assume.
Which was with me. For 6 years, we lived together.
Oh, so why are you telling me, madam, that this was a relatively recent thing?
Clay and I moved in together in September of 1999. After 2 years of living there, he left on a moment's notice. I was evicted. We got back together. He never once made up for it. He moved in with me at the apartment when I was living there because he was evicted from his place.
He didn't move in with you, madam.
I let him move in with me.
Listen.
He's been...
Miss Rushworth.
Yes.
It's over.
Yes.
The rent is over. The gas bill is over. I'm not interested in the rent and the gas bill. I'm interested in the final part of your claim, which is that he filed false allegations against you, which required you to defend a protective order.
The allegations he filed, I did not say were false. I just said he filed allegations and then didn't bother to show up at the hearing.
He's allowed to do that.
I felt
He's
just arbitrarily not show up after I'm required to attend the hearing?
Absolutely. Very often people say, listen, the allegations are true, but we had a long-term relationship. All I wanted to do was stop harassing me. So I'm going to file this. I'm going to give her a wake-up call. Wake up. It's over. Don't call me anymore.
He only did that at the instance of his girlfriend. His girlfriend is the one who instigated it because the restraining order was restraining me from contacting her.
And he's filed one for every girlfriend he's had over the last 12 years.
Excuse me?
I'm sorry, but she's leaving a lot out.
Just a second. She's not leaving anything out that I require.
Okay.
So, Miss Rushworth, he's moved on. What you're annoyed about is that he moved on before you were finished with each other.
No. I'm actually more annoyed at the fact that he's, slept with my best friend. Now they're having a baby. And now they're doing all kinds of stuff. And so there's a whole lot of other issues.
I tried to say that more delicately, that he moved on with his life.
This point, that's exactly where it comes to, and I appreciate you pointing that out.
I'm just saying that it's a little more, I would try to say it a little more delicately than you did. He moved on with his life before you were finished with your life together. And that was aggravating. You had a 6-year relationship, not just a year relationship. And I can imagine that you are really angry. Time to say, period.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
May I?
And I say the same. Period.
Your Honor. May I give him the remaining documents that I had at the house that he doesn't have?
You give them to Bird.
Great.
Bird will take care of it. Thank you.
How's that excuse? You step out.
Hey.
He still doesn't care. He still isn't sorry. He doesn't have any change in his behavior, and he doesn't feel he owes the money.
She has a great perspective as far as when it is over. It is over. It's time to move on.
He was cheating on me and having an affair, and then he decided to leave, move in with her, and have a baby.
She is having the same kind of trouble with her husband at the time. Neither one of us had any intimacy until long after we were out of the house.
I was tired of the abuse. I was tired of being, yelled at and called names and stuff. And, he threw water at me and I called the police.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Dixon versus Gordon. Step forward, please.
26-year-old waitress Tiffany Dixon is suing her ex-boyfriend, barber Charles Gordon, for damages to her car and for a loan to go to barber school.
Miss Dixon, I've read your complaint and I've read your answer, sir. And from what I gather, Mr. Gordon, hopefully, is your ex-boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have 2 children together.
Yes, ma'am.
One wasn't enough. You claim that he owes you some money.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you, in addition to making the mistake of getting involved with him, you loaned him $900, according to you, so that he could attend barber school.
Yes, ma'am.
And then on 2 separate occasions, 2 separate months, you allowed him to drive your car, and your car was damaged while it was in his possession.
Yes, ma'am.
You want him to pay for that.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Gordon says that you are a very, very lucky person to have him in your life, that you adored him, and that's why you gave him the money for barber school. right?
Yeah, that's right.
And he didn't damage your car. One of his other girlfriends may have damaged it, scratched it up while it was in his possession, but he shouldn't be responsible for that because he personally didn't do it, right?
That's right. I don't know if no girl did it or not either.
But somebody else did it while it was in your possession.
Yeah, it wasn't me.
It wasn't Bird, was it?
Not sure.
Cute. What do you do for a living, Mr. Gordon?
I do it all. You know, from the north to south, east to the west.
He's in Barber College, Your Honor.
He's in Barber College?
I don't need nobody to speak for me. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
When you took the money for barber school, Mr. Gordon, what had you been doing just prior to that?
What I've been doing a lot of things. Making the ends meet, you know. They connecting, you know, real connecting, real good. You know, she gave me one thing. Do a lot of things, you know, just to make ends meet, like I said.
When was the last time you filed tax returns, Mr. Gordon?
Filed tax returns. I do that every year. Got to do that every year.
When was the last year?
Is it April 15th yet?
What's your Social Security number? We'll check. Listen to me very carefully. I would like to be able to continue with your case. Unfortunately, I'm not able to communicate reasonably with Mr. Gordon, so he is not able at this time to present a valid, cogent defense to me.
But, I mean, I can just...
He can't answer my question. I mean, I'm asking relatively simple questions, and I'm not able to get from him the answers that I need.
You can talk directly to, you can ask me.
I asked you, sir, I asked you what your Social Security number was.
Your Honor.
That's what I asked you. That was my question.
I mean, what I would tell my Social Security number to for?
You say you file tax returns every year. I want to check.
What does tax returns have to do with this?
Because I asked you a question, sir. I said, prior to going to barber school, what did you do? You said you did what you had to do to make ends meet. That's not an answer to my question.
Okay, well, if he wanted to come over here and get some paperwork,
No.
I might have some paperwork. He can read it.
Do you understand what, Ms. Dixon, do you understand what I just said to you? I cannot complete this case.
Your Honor, please.
I can't.
If I can't present my evidence...
You can't present your evidence, Ms. Dixon, because I cannot communicate with the defendant. Do you understand? I mean, if this is the way he communicates...
No, he doesn't communicate. I don't know if it's because it's television. I don't know what it is, Your Honor.
Television? We on TV?
Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Business owners Brian and Monica Huckabee are suing their former employee, Lilia Fierro, for slander, stealing cleaning supplies, and breaking a vacuum cleaner. Lilia is countersuing for unpaid wages.
Yeah, this is case number 566 on the calendar in the matter of Huckabee versus Fierro. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Mr. and Mrs. Huckabee, you own a cleaning company, and I gather that you hire people either as employees or as independent contractors. You get calls from other folks who want either their homes or their businesses cleaned. You send out your employees.
Yes.
They clean the house. You get a certain percentage of the money, and they get the rest. Is that what happens?
Yes.
It is your claim that you retained Miss Fierro, and she was with you for a relatively short period of time. And you claim that when she left, she went around to customers of yours, people who had been using your company for a long period of time, and slandered you to those people. Ms. Fierro says that she did not slander you at all. She merely went to your customers, and she told them that if they wanted to, they could use her to clean instead of going through you. How long have you been in business?
9 months.
What did you do before that?
The same industry. I was a district manager for another janitorial firm.
Do you have full-time employees in your company?
Yes, I do.
Was Miss Fierro one of those employees?
Yes, she was.
And when did she start working for you?
December 6th of 2004.
And how much was she paid? Because she has a counterclaim, and her counterclaim is for her last week's wages.
Her initial starting wage was $8 per hour.
Is that so far correct, Ms. Fierro?
False.
When did you start working for them?
I started working for him December 9th.
He says the 6th. You say the 9th.
Okay, it was the 9th.
Fine. You say you started working December 9th.
Yes.
And you were paid how much per hour?
He told me he was going to pay me $10 an hour.
I originally, when I hired her, I offered her a training wage because, as a discretionary procedure, you offer someone a lower wage, and then as they progress and you see their job performance, then you offer the option to move up from there. Essentially, $10 an hour is my top wage that I pay my employees. I never have ever started anybody at the top dollar wage per hour. So her wage was $8 an hour from day one.
Is she paid by the week?
Her pay periods were going to be weekly.
How many weeks did she work for you?
She quit on January 6th, so approximately 4 weeks.
So the first week's salary that she got was for how many hours?
Her approximate wage...
Just a second. Just answer my question, Mr. Huckabee. My question is the first week she came to work for you.
I want to say approximately 32 hours.
No, not I don't want to hear approximately.
32 hours.
And what was her check that you gave her?
Well, I tried to pay her through a payroll service. When she initially started, I gave her the entire hiring packet, and she was not willing to fill those out.
Tell me how much you paid her the first week.
$425 was for the first 2 weeks that I paid her.
So the first week she worked 32 hours, and the second week she worked how many hours? I'm trying to figure out.
32.
So she worked 64 hours.
Yes.
Is that what you have, Ms. Fierro?
No.
How many hours did you work?
Okay, I work over 60 hours.
Well, that's what he says. He said you worked 64 hours. Pay attention.
Okay, 64 hours in 2 weeks.
That's exactly what he said. Pay attention.
Okay.
And if you worked 64 hours in 2 weeks, you were paid $425.
But I was not paid that amount.
How much were you paid?
Okay, $560 for the 2 weeks.
Okay.
But he paid me cash.
Just a second.
Judge,
quiet.
After the
60.
first week, I moved her wage up.
Quiet. Now, if she worked 64 hours, she certainly didn't make $640. So I'm going to find that I agree with you that as a trainee, she was making $8 an hour. So what you started to say to me was the first week she was paid $8 and the second week she was paid $10. Is that what you're telling me?
I want to say I moved her to $9, and then I gradually moved her to $10.
Okay. I buy that. Ms. Fierro, that's what I find, madam. Not that he agreed to pay you $10. All right. What happened in January when she left?
Well, throughout the course of the first month, her initial solicitation for employment, she came to me as an employee to be put on my payroll. I essentially gave her a payroll hire packet to go through my payroll service. For the first week, I contacted her every day to request the documentation back so she could be on the payroll service. Then after the first week, I was with her at one of the actual houses that she was taking care of for me, and she just, I don't know if she slipped or if she just decided to confide in me that she owned her own janitorial business. Well, had I known that from day one...
Put your papers down, Ms. Fierro.
Had I known that from day one, that's a conflict of interest, and that could have been very detrimental to me hiring another competitor to do my business.
Of course.
But at the time, my wife was in her third trimester. We were unable to meet our needs for our clientele, so I was stuck.
How many employees did you have at that time?
Just her. The employee that I had was quitting.
So your whole company is one employee?
I had another employee that was training her at the time.
So you had 2 employees?
Yes, when she was hired, yes. She was one of 2.
And the other employee was leaving?
Yes.
So then you were going to have 1 employee?
Yes.
That's her?
Yes.
Now I got it. Okay. So you let her go, or she decided to leave in January?
Yes. After the fact, I found out that she was an independent contractor. She had her own janitorial business, the whole 9 yards, same thing as us. Being in a critical state, though, I was unable to, let her go. She already knew my accounts. I needed to continue business. I said, okay, we're going to switch it. You're going to be 1099'd. Here's a 1099 form. I handed it to her. I said, this is what you're going to need for documentation so I can pay you and that we're legal within the, the tax system. She said, okay, I will get it back to you. Well, over the course of the next 3 weeks that led up to January 6th, she continued to make excuses of why she wasn't returning the paperwork back to me.
She lost the papers.
So finally, upon January...
Is that right, Ms. Fierro?
No, it's not right.
I believe him.
I have the papers
I
here.
believe him. I don't care whether you have the papers there. You never got them back to him.
I did not, My Honor, because I only worked for him 5 days.
Just a second. Are you telling me now that you only worked for him 5 days?
Yes.
Listen to me very carefully, madam. I don't think you would know the truth if he came up and slapped you in the face. You just said to me not more than 5 minutes ago that he paid you $560, right?
Yes.
That's what you told me he paid you. That's far more than for 5 days. Then you have a counterclaim, and your counterclaim says that he didn't pay you for your last week's wages, $625. So how could you have worked for him only 5 days?
My Honor, this is cleaning the church. That's just the church, what he has me here for.
We have her here for everything.
They have you here for everything, madam. You just told me you only worked for him for 5 days. Why didn't you get the paperwork back to him?
Because they never asked for it.
You mean that they gave you the paperwork?
Yes,
they did. Look at me. They gave you the paperwork, and what did you think you were supposed to do with the paperwork? Decorate your bathroom with it?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Business owners Brian and Monica Huckabee claim former employee Lilia Fierro owes for slander, stealing cleaning supplies, and breaking a vacuum cleaner. Lilia claims the Huckabees owe her money.
I don't like people who come into court and don't tell the truth.
My Honor.
You are not telling me the truth.
My Honor, I have the proofs here. Do you want to see them?
I want to know, madam, why is it that you didn't give him back the paperwork that he gave you?
Because he told me he didn't need them.
I told her I didn't need the payroll company service because I found out she was an independent contractor, so I needed a 1099.
1099.
Form. So
right.
that's what I
Here are the
didn't
paper
get back.
that he gave me.
I don't need them.
I have my
Miss Fierro, put it down. Miss Fierro plays a little free and loose with the truth.
My Honor.
How long have you been in the cleaning business?
15 years.
Am I correct that you run a business that's similar to Mr. Huckabee's? You provide cleaning services for people?
Yes, I do.
So why did you go to work for Mr. Huckabee?
Because I'm a single mother and I have a boy that goes to the university and I didn't have a car. I had an accident and he knew about it. That's why I was working part-time after cleaning my houses during the day.
Your Honor, the car thing, she had a pickup ever since day one.
That's my son's car.
She came to us asking for a vehicle.
Yeah. She came to us.
Just a second.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what proof do you have that she went to your customers and slandered you to your customers? I do not take letters, sir.
Okay.
You have a customer here.
Well, I have a witness here, and the witness is an actual individual contractor as myself. He was there on the premises at one of my specific accounts on the days that she was going to solicit and steal my business away.
Just a second. Solicit and steal your business away, sir, is not the same thing as slander. You do understand that?
Yes, I understand.
Okay. Step up, sir. Tell me your name.
Stephen Tidwell.
Do you remember what date, if at all, you saw Miss Fierro?
Yes, ma'am. It was January 31st. I was there doing billing, getting POs when I was...
Where were you?
It's one of Mr. Huckabee's accounts.
And you were there because you also do work for them?
Yes. On a construction company. We did some wiring, some stuff in there.
Did you see Miss Fierro?
Yes, I did.
Were you there when she had a conversation
Yes,
with
I was.
What did you hear her say?
I didn't hear the beginning of the conversation. I was in the back talking to the building management. She walked up. At that time, the front desk lady came back and grabbed me and asked me to go up to the front and listen, make sure nothing happened. From what I did hear, Mrs. Fierro was complaining, arguing, saying she wants money.
She was complaining?
Her English isn't that good, ma'am.
Her English is just fine.
Okay. She was complaining about not being paid, that she wants the company to pay her. The lady kept saying, you got to go back to Mr. Huckabee to get paid. It's not her problem. Ms. Fierro kept going on and on. Finally, the office manager said, you got to leave. I will have the authorities get a hold of you or come down. Mrs. Fierro left. Office manager came back. We had a little bit of conversation about what went on, which is on that part's hearsay, but I guess she's been there before and did the same thing.
That's all you heard?
Just
not
the fact.
Slander, Mr. Huckabee?
Well, I guess aside from that, it's just a handwritten letter from Mrs. Fierro to one of my accounts that is, is.
Oh, just a second. If you have a letter by Miss Fierro to one of your accounts in her handwriting, that I'll read.
Okay.
I'd like to see it.
Attached
I'd like
is
to see it.
These here are what my accounts received on a weekly basis. It is her business card, a copy of her business license, and apparently a voided check when she was trying to solicit the business and take it away. And then this here is the handwritten letter by her.
You don't have a non-compete clause in the contract?
No, ma'am. I do not. It's just it's a good faith.
There's no such thing as good faith without a non-compete clause, sir.
Correct. And in that.
Shh. Well, it's clear to me that she was trying to take your business away, sir.
Might I add a couple more issues just for food for thought?
Go ahead.
She also went to my place of worship, my church, and she, on probably 7 separate incidences, she went to my particular pastor and demanded that he call me and have a personal, I guess, spiritual visit with me to pay my dues to Mrs. Fierro. And
well, pay your dues. What I gather was in dispute is $225 because you offered to give her, according to what I've read in the complaints and the answer, $400 to settle all claims. Is that right?
$400 was...
Just answer my question.
Yes.
And she would not accept it. She said you owed her $625. So the dispute here is involving $225.
No, ma'am. The dispute is involving actually $8,400 because the damage is done by Mrs. Fierro.
I'm not talking to you, sir. about your claim. I'm talking about her claim.
Her claim, yes, ma'am, $400.
Is about $225 because you offered her $400. She said, I'm not taking it. I want $625.
Actually, I offered her $420, so it's $205.
And when did you offer her $420?
$420 was on January the 9th. I was at her front door with the local police department trying to have her initially sign a receipt, the necessary W-9 form, and to hand over her payment and to obtain our personal equipment and cleaning supplies back.
She had your equipment?
She still does. Yes, she still does.
You still have his equipment?
Yeah, because I asked him to come and get it at my house, and he never came by.
We came with the police department, and the police, of course, you know, they tried to do the peaceful transaction, and she wasn't willing to comply, and they told us to go home. Cleaning supplies, a step ladder, and just miscellaneous, you know, janitorial equipment, rags, dusters, toilet brushes, and so forth.
What's all that stuff worth?
I estimate $75.
Do you think it's right that you wrote to his accounts and told them that you could provide a service as good as his?
No, okay, what I was doing is that when I call him, see, he has a restraining order in Bakersfield court office before all this happened. And then when I was served, I asked him, I said, why do I need to go to court with a restraining order if you are the one that owes me money? And he said, because you don't have to go to the accounts that you were cleaning for me, because they had been told that if
Why
they see
did you go to his... Listen, he got a restraining order for a reason. I'm asking you a question, Ms. Fierro.
Okay.
Why did you write to his accounts, go to his accounts, and tell them, here is my business card.
Okay.
I'm licensed. I can do the same work. Why did you, from a moral standpoint, go to his accounts?
Because I wanted to talk to them, and they never wanted to talk to me.
Wanted to talk to them about what?
About what he had said to me on the phone. Do not even go to the accounts, because they had been told that if they see you, to call the police on you.
Because they're my account.
That doesn't answer my question, Ms. Fierro. My question to you, madam, is he hired you. You got a list of his clients because he hired you, so you knew who his clients were.
Okay.
You think that it's right for you, after you quit the job, to go to his accounts to try to get his accounts to use you as a cleaning service. Do you think that that's right?
No, it's not right.
So why did you do it?
I did it because, see, he had stayed all the time that he was offering me pay, that he said he was going to pay me as a contractor, pay me as an employee, and does he has the proofs that, you know, that he can show it to you that he paid me? Because I don't think any company will pay cash.
That doesn't answer my question, Miss Fierro. That's a lot of double talk that you're giving me from somebody who doesn't understand English too well, according to him. You understand English very well, and you write it just fine. And what I'm asking you, madam, is did you think it was right to go to his clients and try to steal them away?
No, I was not trying to steal them away.
All right, your counterclaim is dismissed, Ms. Fierro. If he owed you $400, you should have taken it, because you're not getting a penny from me. But neither, sir. I'm speaking. I think you're very smart. I don't think that there's anything not smart about you. I think that, put your hand down. I think that this was a nasty thing that you did to somebody, to go and try to take their customers away, to tell them, I can do the same kind of job from you. Here's my business card, here's my license, here's my check. He doesn't have a company, he doesn't have separate checking. I mean, these are all things that you wrote to a customer of his. They're really not nice. And you went to his customers, not the right, I'm speaking, not the right moral thing to do. But you don't have a case against her, sir. Do you understand? She is able to do that, unless you have a non-compete clause.
Well, I guess...
And you have no proof.
Just the defamation of character, the things that she was going along saying...
Listen to me. You have no proof of that, sir. No.
Other than
you already testified. And nothing in your testimony, sir, was
just the tone of her voice, though.
I don't care about her tone of... Listen to me. I don't care about her tone of voice. Nothing in the words, in the substance of the words that you allege to have overheard is slanderous.
But for them to come get me...
Don't listen to me.
Okay.
Don't answer me back. This is not a give and take.
Okay.
This is, you answer my questions, I rule on your testimony, and that's it. You don't have a case for slander.
But, Your Honor, in turn, I had to be able to maintain a business and the livelihood for my wife and my small child, I had to turn over a month and a half of free service for the damages that she did, and that's why I'm here
Sir, you
today.
haven't proven the damages.
The damages are just her visits.
You haven't proven the damages. You would need a witness who would testify that she came to their establishment and she said things about you that were not true, as a result of which they either switched from your company to hers or stopped using your company. You don't have that witness. The fact that you took measures to keep your clients doesn't obviate the fact that there is a big gap, that central gap of proof, because this is a court. Court needs proof. You don't have it.
Okay.
You got it?
Got it.
Is she out of your life now?
I hope so.
Perfect. Very good. Case is dismissed, and so is your counterclaim. You did the wrong thing.
Parties are excused and they step out.
A little disappointed. The losses for what we encountered for being here is kind of, it is a disappointment.
I know she was, doing her job.
I was starting to receive telephone calls from our clientele letting us know that the service was a little bit less than standard of what they were accustomed to from our business.
He's a very, very smart guy.
Handwritten letter, saying that we were going out of business and we're liars.
I was trying to find out what he had said about me, but I never said nothing bad about them.
When we went over these complaints with her is when she became very hostile and she walked off the job, and that was the last day of service from her.
I will take him to court in Bakersfield.
A tough lesson, but now you just know a little bit more paperwork goes a long way.
Hope to be able to continue on without any more problems like this.
Next case.
All parties in the matter of Hart versus Armstrong. Step forward, please.
24-year-old receptionist Valeska Hart is suing her former neighbor, 24-year-old production assistant Brian Armstrong, for the cost to repair her vacuum cleaner. Brian says he borrowed the vacuum to clean his apartment after it was egged.
Is that the offending vacuum cleaner?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Mr. Armstrong, you are Miss Harp's neighbor, or were Miss Harp's neighbor. And according to what I read, somebody or some group of people decided, I haven't said anything yet. Why do you have this silly look on your face?
Just listening.
Good. Listen intently.
I am.
Somebody egged your apartment.
Yeah.
You made a big mess all over the place, and you went next door and asked Miss Harp if you could borrow her vacuum cleaner. Ms. Harp says that when you returned the vacuum cleaner to her after having tried to vacuum up all this wet slop that was all over your carpet, that the vacuum cleaner didn't work anymore and it was ruined. And Mr. Armstrong, you say that it seemed to work just fine when you brought it home.
Yeah.
Does it work anymore?
Now it does because I had it fixed.
Do you have a bill?
Yes, I do.
When was your apartment egged, Mr. Armstrong?
About last weekend in April.
By whom?
I have no idea.
Did you make a police report?
No, it was reported to the management downstairs, but I don't think any police.
Not them, you. Why didn't you report it to the police?
That somebody egged my house?
That someone vandalized your home.
It was all cleaned up by the apartment building. It wasn't a big deal.
They cleaned up your apartment?
Yeah. They repainted the whole out front. Outside, they cleaned it.
Who cleaned the inside of your apartment?
That was me.
Why did you use that vacuum cleaner to clean up all the wet stuff in your apartment?
I didn't clean up any wet stuff. What happened was my sliding door was open, so some of the eggs, 2 or 3, had gotten inside. And a couple days later, when I'm cleaning it up, there was like dry yolk and stuff on the carpet. I resolved it out, scrubbed it out, and then there were still some eggshells on the ground, stuff like that. But it wasn't sloppy wet like you were describing.
I didn't describe it. She described it in her complaint.
Okay.
Tell me what happened when he returned the vacuum cleaner.
When the vacuum was returned to me, the outside bag, not the inside bag that you changed, but the outside bag was completely soaking wet. You could have wrung it, and you lifted it up, and there was gooey stuff coming out of it. On the metal part, there was eggshells.
When he returned it to you, did you say anything to him about the condition?
Yes, I did.
What did you say to him?
I said, this is leaking, because he put it back into the closet where it was, and it wasn't a carpeted area, and I was cleaning up the area, and I said, I'm going to have to take this in to get it fixed and to get it cleaned, and you're going to have to pay for it.
And he said?
How much do you think that will cost? And I said, I'm not sure. And
it's impossible for her to say that there was leaking stuff coming out of the bottom because I didn't vacuum up any.
Did you use the words to her, Mr. Armstrong, how much do you think that will cost? Almost not an answer. Why don't you have a vacuum of your own?
I don't know.
You have an apartment that has carpeting?
I do.
So how do you clean the carpeting? With the tweezers?
Sometimes.
I don't find you adorable. How do you clean your carpeting?
I don't.
How long have you lived there?
Maybe 6 months now.
And you don't clean the carpeting?
I did when she lived there.
When who lived there?
Val lived across the way.
So you borrowed her vacuum cleaner frequently?
Maybe once previous to the incident.
So in the 6 months that you lived there, you vacuumed your carpet twice? Is that right?
Maybe 3 times, yeah.
Whose vacuum did you borrow the third time? You're making it up as you're going along, sir.
I mean, I don't know how many times I vacuumed my carpet, to be honest with you.
How many times had he borrowed your vacuum?
I don't have
Once prior to the incident.
How many times a day do you shower?
Once.
Laundry?
Every month, maybe.
Yeah, do you turn your underwear?
Sometimes.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $200.29. Thank you.
Excuse, you may step out.
After I got it fixed, I said, you owe me $200.28.
I didn't break the vacuum. When I returned it, it was still working.
He got drunk one night and had nothing to do afterwards, so he was egging people off of his balcony.
That's true.
All parties in the matter of Ng versus Riley. Step forward, please.
Eye care professional Monica Ng is suing her one-time golf partner, technical consultant Steve Riley, for medical and dental bills. Monica says she was hit in the face by Steve's golf ball.
Missing, according to your complaint, you were playing golf and you were in a foursome?
Yes.
And Mr. Riley was in your foursome?
Yes.
And you got hit with a golf ball that he sliced. You want him to pay for all of your medical bills, you had dental problems, et cetera, et cetera. And Mr. Riley says, sometimes happens when you play golf. Not every shot's a perfect shot. It's part of the risk you assume when you play the game. That's your defense.
Yes, ma'am.
When did this happen, Miss Ng?
On January 31st at the Lakewood Country Club.
And how long have you been playing golf with Mr. Riley?
I've never played with him before.
So you were teamed up that day?
By the starter at the country club.
What hole were you playing when this incident happened?
The 9th hole.
And who teed off first?
The guys teed off first, and then I teed off last because I tee off from the ladies' tees.
After you teed off, everyone left the tee, is that right?
Yes, we all walked to our balls.
And was your ball in front of Mr. Riley's ball?
It was horizontal, diagonal to his ball.
And he shot first?
Yes.
And you were watching him?
Yes, I was watching him the whole time.
Why didn't you stand behind where he was?
For slow play, any reasonable experienced golfer would walk to their ball so that you don't delay play, because slow play is the #1 problem with golfing.
No, the #1 problem with golfing is getting hit with a golf ball. So when I was reading your complaints, and I've been out on a golf course, although I am not a proficient golfer, since I don't know who I'm playing with, as you didn't know who you were playing with, and you're not sure of their skill, I wouldn't get into a position where you were anywhere in harm's way. I would stand well behind that person.
I felt I was not standing in a location where I was in harm's way.
But you were, right? Because you didn't play golf with him before. You didn't know whether he was a good player or a bad player, whether he sliced, whether he was straight, whatever. But you don't think that you have any responsibility to worry about yourself?
Yes, I have the responsibility to worry about myself, but I was standing in a location next to my ball. I was watching him the whole time.
You think he aimed at you?
No, he did not aim at me. It was an accident, but still, he's liable for any damages or injury caused by his actions, as stated in the golf course rules at the Lakewood Country Club.
Well, I'll take a look at the rules of the Lakewood Country Club and see what they say.
Safety practices.
Let me see what the safety practices are. Yeah, well, this says that any person entering or playing on the golf course assumes full responsibility for his or her personal safety. That's you. And property. Players are liable for any accident, injury, and or property damage caused by their actions. Well, you're saying that his actions caused you to be injured.
Correct.
I'm saying your actions caused you to be injured. Miss Ng, my dear. When you play golf, there's a golf ball. That golf ball doesn't always go where it's supposed to go. Have you watched professionals play golf?
Yes.
Have you seen professionals sometimes slice their ball and it goes into a gallery?
Yes.
You think that they're liable if their ball hits somebody? They're not. Players not liable. That's what the game is about. Somebody hits a very hard ball. Sometimes it goes where it's supposed to go. Sometimes it doesn't go where it's supposed to go. If it always went where it was supposed to go, nobody would watch the game.
We have a verbal agreement after the injury. He was very apologetic for hitting me.
Yes.
And he gave me a cellular number so I can contact him so that I can get his home address to mail him the medical expenses.
Did you say that you would cover the medical expenses, Mr. Riley?
What I said was that if she wanted to go to the emergency room right then, I would help her with expenses. I did not say I would cover a week off of work. I did not say
Absolutely not.
Right.
You're not responsible for a week
Right.
off from work. You're not responsible for her pain and suffering. You're not responsible for any of that.
Right.
So did you give him the medical bill from the emergency room?
I had not received it yet when I wrote him that certified letter.
Fine. What was your bill from the emergency room? $602 with the emergency bills. Is that right, sir? Now that you agreed to pay, according to you.
Yes.
Fine. Anything else?
Yes. A few months later, I noticed the back of my tooth was swollen, and I went to the dentist, and that's when they told me that I have ligament damage due to trauma.
Could be. That's not what he agreed to pay for. He agreed to pay for your emergency room bills. But for the fact that he agreed to pay for the emergency room bills, he would not be responsible. You assumed the risk when you got on the golf course of whatever happens when you play golf, unless, of course, he picked up his club and flung the club in anger, or if he hit you with his club, or if he ran you over with a golf cart. That you don't assume the risk, but you do assume the risk that somebody may not hit the ball straight, so you have to make sure that you don't put yourself in harm's way. And if being in a position where you were a little bit of a slow player is more important than keeping yourself out of harm's way, that's a choice that you make. He can't guarantee where his golf ball's going to go. If he could, he'd be Tiger Woods' partner, right?
Absolutely.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $602. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, I think the judge made a knowledgeable decision.
I saw him hit his ball, and it came right directly at me. I dodged, but not fast enough.
Fortunately, it was a glancing blow and not frontal.
It was a horrible incident. I want to forget about it.
I did agree to pay for the emergency room costs, and that's fair.
I know he did not mean to hit me.
Kelly and Robert Burrows are suing their former friends, Marina and David Quadra, for illegal eviction and property damage.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everybody.
Hello, Judge. Case 2072, Burrows versus Quadra.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. and Mrs. Quadra, you were living in a home, in a house?
Correct, a townhome.
That you didn't own. And for how long had you been renting that home?
We did not rent out the home.
How long, if you didn't own it, then you were renting it?
We rented it for 2 years, Your Honor.
It gets scarier if you have a fixed position in your head so that you're not listening to my questions. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
When did your lease start?
July of 2020.
And when was it to terminate?
It was terminated August 1st, 2022.
And it was terminated by an eviction?
Correct.
And you were evicted because the landlord said that you sublet the apartment to these people and their family?
Correct.
And they were people who you knew, both in the military?
Just him.
What do you do?
I'm a federal employee.
And you?
I'm active duty, ma'am.
But you knew each other from work?
Correct.
Where did you move in August?
National City, Your Honor.
How far is that from your prior residence?
It's about 30 miles south, Your Honor.
Are you in a home that you own or that you rent?
We are still renting.
How much are you paying in rent?
$21.50 a month.
You have a signed lease?
We do.
When did that lease start?
August 1st, 2022.
And why did you choose to live in National City?
It is closer to where he is stationed.
It is also
Shh. Don't speak.
Yes, Your Honor.
How much closer?
To his job.
To his job?
It went from a 30-minute drive to a 15-minute drive.
Okay, so that's better.
Correct.
You were evicted. You were served a notice of eviction on what date?
They let us know a month before August. They gave us a 30-day notice.
Now, did the plaintiffs have any furniture in the home that you were evicted from?
Prior to us being evicted, yes.
Yes, prior to your being evicted. And what furniture did they have?
2 dressers and a bunk bed.
Anything else?
That's as far as furniture.
And what furniture did you have in there prior to being evicted?
A full living room.
And when did you move that out? On what date?
The 30th of July, 2 days before our moving date.
So you moved out all of your furniture?
Correct.
And how much were you paying in rent in the place from which you were evicted?
$25.95.
Oh, I didn't write that down. How much were you paying in the new place?
The place we are in now, $21.50.
So you're paying less rent?
Correct. It's substantially smaller.
And substantially closer to his place of employment?
Correct.
Good. Now, do you want to tell me your version of how they came to be living in your house?
We received a call one night. It was very late, 10 p.m. Robert was very upset, crying. He had nowhere to go.
He?
Correct. Robert had nowhere to go, and Kelly was asking for a divorce. He asked if he could crash on the couch. We have a toddler at home, so I asked him to sleep in our guest bedroom instead of the couch.
Okay.
He stayed that first original night, and the next day he needed to job hunt as he was jobless. We offered to watch his child. He looked for the job and he came home. He asked us if he could stay for a while in that guest bedroom until he got onto his feet with the job. He offered money to just help out with utilities and
how much?
$1,000.
$1,000 a month?
No, just 1,000. And our words, when he had asked, and we asked him, how long do you think it will take you to get on your feet? It was just a couple weeks.
Okay, so he was offering $1,000.
Correct.
Which was 40% of your rent to stay for 2 weeks, to stay in your guest bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty decent. Did he give you the $1,000?
He did.
And he gave you the $1,000 on what date?
He gave us the $1,000 on May 29th.
And when did he start staying there?
He started staying with us May 21st.
Then what happened?
He stayed with us for about a week. Everything was okay. He job hunted. I helped with the child. Within this week, he...
Look at me.
I'm sorry. He confided in us that he wanted to work on his marriage with Kelly. He did not want the divorce. It was something that she had asked for. They wanted to work on it together and had asked if Kelly could come around to stay with him and the children and work on their marriage.
When he moved into the guest room, did he take the children? Did he have the children with him?
He did, but it was just on certain nights they were sharing.
And then he asked if Kelly could come as well.
Correct.
The wife. And what did you say? Why couldn't he go home?
He could not go home due to their relationship with her parents. Their parents.
Oh, she was living with her parents.
Correct.
And they were both living with her parents.
Correct.
So he said, I can't go home. We want to work on the marriage. Could we come and stay here with you?
Correct.
They have 2 kids?
They have 3.
They have 3 kids. And how many dogs?
4.
4 dogs. So far, you get 4 stars if you let her come.
I wish it would have worked that way.
No. You don't understand that that's where I'm at so far.
Yeah, of course.
So now, May 29th, he gives you the $1,000. She moves in when with the dogs?
So we had a long trip planned to Vegas. We let them know that after we had left, she could come stay while we were gone.
What month? June?
June, correct.
How long were you away?
We were away for 5 to 6 days.
Well, what was he going to do when she came there with the 4 dogs, 3 kids after 6 days? What was the plan?
This was never a plan of, here's a lease agreement you are going to rent from us. It was just that I need somewhere to stay. Can they please come for this short period of time until we figure this out?
Great. Okay, now let me hear your version of the events. When you went to stay there with your children, you were having trouble with your wife.
That's incorrect.
Incorrect. What I said was, because I believe her, I believe that you called her and said exactly what she said. She told me. I mean, I didn't have to have Whitney read it back. I believe that that's what you said. So I don't want to hear baloney about school districts. You were having trouble with your wife.
And later today.
You can't have it both ways.
It's a complicated case.
It's not complicated. It's very simple. You didn't have a written contract. If you had an oral contract, that's one thing.
Kelly and Robert Burrows claim their former friends, Marina and David Quadra, owe for an illegal eviction. Marina and David are countersuing, saying Kelly and Robert caused them to be evicted.
So when you went to their house and you wanted to work on your marriage, you could have gone back to your in-laws.
Yes, that's correct.
You could have. Why didn't you?
The reason why we decided to split up was because we're trying to keep our kids in the same school district. So with having 4 dogs, that's impossible to keep in an HOA. So she decided to go with her parents. I decided to stay back to finish the school year with the kids still being in May, so they can finish in the same school district. That's why I decided I needed a mailing address so that they can stay in the same school district.
So you mean this discussion that she just said to me about you having problems, marital problems with your wife, that never happened?
Irrelevant. It's just...
No, that's not what I said. What I said was, because I believe her. I believe that that's what happened. I believe that you called her and said exactly what she said. She told me. I mean, I don't have to have Whitney read it back. I believe that that's what you said. So I don't want to hear baloney about school districts. You were having trouble with your wife.
No, ma'am.
No.
No.
And you didn't tell her that.
We had been moved out of our old place of 6 years in El Cajon, and we were trying for 6 months to find a new place. So yes, it does put a lot of stress on a relationship, but we did not have any marital...
Mr. Burrows, you know what my strong suit is, and there's no question that the cameras just caught your face. My strong suit is being able to spot a lie from a mile away. And I'm telling you that there's no question that you called her late at night and said, I'm having trouble with my wife. She asked me for a divorce. Can I come and stay with you? There's no question that whether it was true or not, I don't know, because clearly you're a liar. So maybe it wasn't true, but that's what you told her.
Your Honor, may I speak?
You want me to call your parents?
Please do.
Would you like me to call your parents? I'm just asking you, would you like me to call your parents?
No.
Of course not. That's an easy thing for me to do.
Part of what was going on was that we lived in our home for 6 years and the homeowners had moved back in, and so they asked us to leave, and we had been actively searching for a home. So yes, it did put a bit of a strain on our marriage, and I took my dogs with me so that I can keep my operating business at my parents' house because I am a dog boarder, dog sitter, and I did not want to shut my business down. And during this time, tensions, little things happening at my parents' house. So I said, you need to go see if you can rent a room or find somebody that can help you in the meantime till we can actively keep searching for a place for our family. We tried 5 different homes and we didn't.
I don't care. What I said to your husband was he lied to me. Because there's no question that he called, and whether it was true or not, that he said to your friends, I need a place to go. Do you have a place that I could stay on the couch? There's no question he said that to her.
That is true. Yes, that is true.
Okay. Well, then I want you to introduce your husband to the truth.
Is it true?
It's something that he hasn't met, because that's not what he told me what happened.
Correct.
So that was a mistake of his. That was a mistake. And you know what happens when you lied to me once? Your case is dismissed. Because what you're suing for is being evicted, and you go, blah, 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 emotional distress. You lie to me once, your case is dismissed. Now, we're going to come over here. You have a counterclaim. Your counterclaim is money owed for property damage.
Correct.
And for damages for eviction. Because what happened was your landlord evicted you because she comes with her 4 dogs, 3 gerbils, 2 parakeets to your house, and the owner of your condo doesn't want her any more than the owner of their last condo.
Of course.
Didn't want them. Got to save your money, buy your own house so you can have as many dogs and parakeets as you like. You moved into a place that's nicer?
Absolutely not.
Tell me what the papers said when your landlord notified you of the eviction. Do you have them?
We do.
I'd like to take a look at them.
Yes, no problem. There was also in that piece of paper a $250 fine through our HOA from the whole commotion that he caused the day of asking them to leave.
Just a second, you were a month-to-month tenant?
Correct.
You didn't have a lease for 2 years. You were a month-to-month tenant.
We had a year lease, and then when the year was up, we moved month to month.
They didn't evict you?
No, they just gave us, they asked us
Just a second. Your lawsuit is for damages, punitive damages for an eviction. You weren't evicted.
Well, we were asked to leave if we...
No, they just decided not to renew your month-to-month lease.
Due to the...
I don't care what it was due to. Listen, if I owned a property and you let 3 kids, 4 dogs moved into my condo for 6 days, I wouldn't renew your lease on a month-to-month basis either. I don't care whether they were there for 2 days, 4 days, a week, or a month. You understand?
Understood.
Okay, so there was no eviction. So the punitive damages for that, forget it. Money owed for property damage. When they moved out, what did they damage? And how much did it cost you?
There was a hole in the molding from moving the dressers down our stairs. They bonked it, bringing it out angrily because they were mad that we asked them to leave. We have the letters from our landlord stating everything that they had to deduct from our deposit.
Just a second, a hole in the wall. And how much was the hole in the wall?
The molding was...
No, just look at the paper and tell me how much was the hole in the wall.
The painting was $180 and the molding repair was $200.
Now, did you damage the molding when you were moving a dresser out of the house?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, not that you're aware of. You want to try the truth now? Was there a hole that you created moving a dresser out of the house?
When David and I were moving our dresser over the stairs, down the stairs.
Who's David?
The defendant.
So you were moving out the dresser with him? Careful, introducing you to the truth. Did you move the dresser with him?
I did help move the furniture.
The case is dismissed. The counterclaim likewise is dismissed. We're done. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I take it as a win. The initial suit was them against us. Their suit got dismissed.
We lost a lot of things and a lot of wages.
That was just us being good friends. We definitely learned our lesson. We will never help another crying husband on our doorstep claiming divorce again.
People that are offering to be nice to you in times of need don't charge you.
They kind of cried, oh, marriage and divorce the whole time, knowing that we're young and married. It's something we take seriously in our lives.
We're still trying to build our lives back.
I should actually make a party to introduce all those people to Mr. Truth.
I agree.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mismatch. Doesn't make sense. If you're going to stay with a friend for a few days, you don't bring a bunk bed and 2 dressers.
No.
I've stayed with friends for a couple days, long weekend. You bring a bag with some clothes.
Even with your kids.
Yeah, you don't bring furniture. You don't bring any of that. So there's a lot of discrepancies.
Things that didn't make sense. If it doesn't make sense, it's usually not true.
Agreed.
Edmund Hay is suing videographer Ramsey Hill for breach of contract.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2057, Hay versus Hill.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Hay, you're a musician.
I am a songwriter and I sing song. I don't play the instrument, Your Honor.
That's music.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hill, you make music videos.
Yes, I have a video production company.
For how long, sir?
Since 2006.
Do you have employees?
No.
Just you?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a place of business?
Yes, I work at my home.
So your place of business
is the residence.
Do you have a studio in the residence?
No, we do not.
Where do you record this music?
Most of the time we do it on location, but I haven't done a music video in almost 10 years.
When you say you have a video business, you haven't done music videos.
Right, yeah.
You have done what kind of videos?
Well, we've done a small film. We have a 3D full-length original animation that we do. We also have a network that we show podcasts on. We have a health and fitness show, and we was working on a reality TV show and an entertainment news show.
I still don't understand how you make a living. Working on, thinking about being in this business myself, that doesn't produce any income. How do you earn a regular income?
Oh, I have a regular 9-to-5 job. Besides
okay, now that's where we go.
Yeah.
So your 9-to-5 job is what?
Right now I'm an insurance agent.
Do you advertise making videos?
Absolutely not. The only reason I did this was as a favor to a friend.
Well, you didn't do it for a favor because you were charging him.
No, the only reason I accepted to do the video was because a friend asked me to meet with him.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But you weren't doing him a favor because you were charging him.
No, I was doing the friend a favor. I wasn't doing him a favor.
No.
Right.
Mr. Hill, if somebody says, listen, I have a friend who wants to make a video. I know you've got a setup in your house where you could do that, or you do it on location. Would you like to be introduced to him? And you say, sure. That doesn't mean you're doing him a favor. So you haven't made a music video in 10 years. You're an insurance agent. And you met with Mr. Hay on what date?
I'm not really sure.
On what date, Mr. Hay?
We met sometime in early April, late March.
Did you have a written contract?
Yes, ma'am.
And that was to make certain videos?
Yes.
I'd like to see the written contract, please. This lawsuit seeks a refund of the money that you gave to him because the entire contract was not fulfilled. That's what the case is about.
That is correct.
Okay, so there is a full and complete agreement. Was this the only agreement there was in writing?
That's the one for that one.
That's the one for what?
For that particular item, there's another one here.
Well, that's what I wanted to know. There's one to produce 3 videos.
That is correct.
Okay. Is there another written contract?
He said this is not a contract.
Well, but I'm asking you, is there another written contract that you're relying on? Because he was supposed to make 3 videos, and the cost of the 3 videos was $1,500?
$3,000.
$3,000. And then there was an additional agreement
for the live performance of which he demanded $1,500 from me.
Okay.
Okay,
And then
that's
just
not
a
correct.
second.
That's
just
not correct.
Just a second. So it is your claim that in addition to the $3,000, $1,500 of which you paid to him, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
There was a subsequent contract afterwards for an additional item. I'd like to see that.
For the live performance of May 1st.
Okay. You wanted to do something live on one of his radio stations. Or...
Mr. Hill?
No, I'm going to read this.
Okay.
Okay. Let's deal with the easier one first. Did you receive the $1,500 for this contract?
Yes.
And that was for a live performance on one of your outlets.
Right.
And that was to take place on May 1st.
May 1st.
And did it in fact take place?
No.
Did it in fact take place?
Not at all.
Well, so then he gets his $1,500 back. That's one.
Thank you, Your Honor.
But I'm not asking you anything. There's nothing else that you have to tell me about that, right? You paid him $1,500.
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't do a live performance. You get your $1,500 back.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, with regard to the 3 videos, you've given him a total now of $3,000?
$1,500, Your Honor.
How much did you pay him on this?
For the videos?
Yes.
I gave him $500 up front to start off on that project. And then that's on the 21st. And then I gave him $1,000 by the 27th, I think, for the 3 videos.
So you gave him.
$1,500.
So you gave him. The 3 videos were supposed to be $3,000, and you gave him $1,500.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How many videos were produced for you?
1.
Is it accurate that 1 video was produced for Mr. Hay?
Yes.
And it was done on a particular date?
Right.
And you gave him that video?
Yes.
On what date did you give him that video?
It was a week before the 31st.
Did you do any work on the other 2 videos?
No.
Okay. Each video was supposed to cost $1,000.
Yes.
Dollars. And you received 1 video.
Yes, ma'am.
And you paid him $1,500 so far as down payment on 3. So you have $1,500 that you believe is coming back to you from that amount of money, in addition to the $1,500 that I've already given you.
No, the $1,500 covered the first video. It wasn't a breakdown like he's trying to make it in the 3 videos. No, the $1,500 was the cost, was the full cost for the first video.
Does it say that in here? He's not giving you more money back.
No.
He's not giving you more money than you gave him. Do you understand? He's giving.
Your Honor, may I say this, please?
You could say whatever you want to say.
And later today.
Well, you have a defense for not paying rent for those 3 months, which you clearly occupied her premises. Who wants to tell me why you didn't pay rent?
Edmund Hay claims videographer Ramsey Hill breached their music video contract.
Kevin, would you please ask Mr. Hill to show me where in this contract, and I may have missed it, that $3,000 was to be paid for 3 videos.
Right.
But the first one cost half, cost $1,500. All I want you to do is to show me in that contract where it says that. If it says that, then Mr. Hay gets back the $1,500 from live music performance.
The music video production won $1,500.
Just a second. Can I see it, please? Yes, it does, Mr. Hay. That's exactly what it says. It says music video, the first production is $1,500.
Okay.
And you got 1 produced video, correct?
Correct, ma'am.
Okay, well,
So,
and you're absolutely right. What?
so the reason why I'm suing him for the extra $1,000, Your Honor, is for the live performance that he didn't perform. I had to hire 2 other persons to
That's not his problem. He didn't perform. He didn't He didn't do the live performance.
No, first of all,
and you're getting your money back. He's not giving you more money back.
No.
He's not giving you more money than you gave him. Do you understand? He's giving.
Your Honor, may I say this, please?
You could say whatever you want to say. He's not paying for you to do another live performance with other people.
He didn't perform pursuant to the contract, and you're getting your money back because he didn't perform that contract. With regard to this contract, he performed pursuant to this contract. You get nothing. It's easy.
For the music, correct? For the videos, correct?
For the videos, he produced one, and one was $1,500. That's what this contract says.
The contract is about making 3 videos, Your Honor.
That's all right. If you want to look at it, do you want to see it? Have we shown it to you?
No, I'm asking pertaining to what he says. He says pertaining to just one for the 1,500.
It says it's clear. Music video, #1 production, $1,500.
Number 1, which means there's 2 more need to be done.
Correct, but the first one was, just a second, the first one was $1,500. He could have very easily said, Mr. Hay, production #1, $1,000. Production #2.
He explained that like you just said to me, and he wrote that in words for that purpose.
This is what the court is bound by, sir. Not what he may have explained to you, because you cannot modify in the law a written contract by oral communications between the parties. It's in writing. If you wanted him to write production 1, $1,000, then he would have said, write production 1, that each video was $1,000.
Your Honor,
This is not an argument, sir.
I'm not
this
arguing,
is not an
Your
argument. Good, because that's what it says.
I'm not arguing.
Contract speaks for itself. On the initial contract, he has to give you a refund of $1,500. On this contract, he produced #1 video for which you paid him $1,500. That's what the contract calls for. We're done here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Well, it's a fair decision.
There is no breaching of my end on the contract.
It would never have been any money if he'd have kept things on course.
How did I breach the contract when I'm here getting the money for the contract?
I'm not working with anybody like that anymore.
You cannot have an oral modification of a written contract. So I think it's a good lesson for people signing written contracts that if you don't agree or you have a different understanding than something that's listed in the contract, don't let the other person just explain it away in the moment, because as we've seen, that doesn't hold up in court and your rights are going to be really limited to what's in that written agreement. So it's important.
People should know that.
Yeah.
Emmett Moss is suing his former friend, Nadine Drury, for unpaid loans.
Court come to order. All rise.
Be seated, everybody.
Hello, Judge.
How are you, Captain?
Case number 2015, Moss versus Jury.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Moss, prior to leasing an apartment with the defendant, had you known each other?
Sort of.
Tell me a sort of.
So we met one time about a year prior. We have mutual friends, one of which had asked me to get ordained to marry her and her husband. So I flew in town to do that, and Nadine was there at their house when I flew in. We saw each other for a few minutes, and that's actually the only time we've ever met in person.
And there came a time when you were looking for an apartment where?
I was looking for an apartment in the Salt Lake area.
And where had you been living?
In Seattle.
And where were you living, Miss Drury?
In Salt Lake City.
You were looking to move?
Yes.
So other than that one-time meeting when you were officiating at a mutual friend's wedding, you hadn't met before, but somebody suggested that you were looking for an apartment, you were looking for a new apartment, and perhaps you could rent an apartment together.
Yes, that's
fair statement?
In fact.
Yes, Your Honor.
And in what month and year did that happen?
It would have been in October of 2020 that this arrangement sort of came to be like, hey, maybe you should see if Nadine...
Okay, but you did, in fact, sign a lease together. Who found the apartment?
Nadine did.
You did. Prior to signing the lease, Mr. Moss, had you seen the apartment?
No.
No is the answer. Did you ever see the apartment, other than videos or photographs of it?
No, I never saw
Prior to signing the lease?
Correct.
Also correct?
Correct.
On what date was the lease signed?
On the 7th of November of 2020.
The rent on the apartment was how much?
It was $585 a month each.
$1,170, Your Honor.
So $585 per month each. You both signed it on the same day. Did you move in?
I did.
On what date?
November 8th.
And you were still in Seattle?
Correct.
Did you ever move into the apartment?
Never.
Okay. And that is also correct?
Correct.
Because for whatever reason, you decided to stay in Seattle?
Correct.
Is that work-related or socially?
Social.
And then you contacted her and told her that you weren't intending to move in.
Correct.
But that you would continue to pay your half of the rent. That also correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And you were making a direct deposit to the account to pay the rent?
Yeah, it was an automatic payment from my account to the rental.
To the rental office?
Yes, to the rental office.
Then you came to find that Miss Jury had stopped paying her portion of the rent. When did you stop making payments on your portion of the rent?
In January.
So you paid either full or partial for November because you moved in on the 8th, and you paid December's rent.
Correct.
And you stopped paying rent in January. Why?
I lost my job in December of 2020.
So I'm going to outline now what this case is about.
Yes.
Mr. Moss continued paying his half of the rent until you found a roommate.
Correct.
And you found a roommate when?
I believe I found him in February, and he moved in the month of March and started paying his half of the rent.
So you didn't pay rent January or February,
Correct.
2 months.
Correct.
And you had no work.
Correct.
When you found out that the rent wasn't being paid, according to you, in order to not impact your credit, you spoke to her. She said, I don't have a job. You said, I can help you out. I'll send you money. Is that generally what happened? Then I'll get into
that's generally what happened, but there is a little more detail to it.
I'm going to let you get to the details.
All right.
And you want that money back. The money that you advanced her in her time of need, which was how much in total?
The total is $3,360. She did at some point pay me $300 back, so the amount I am seeking is $3,060.
Okay. Are those figures accurate?
Yes.
And he gave you that money, not because you were good friends, because you were a relative. He had met you one time.
Right.
And he had, in fact, said to you, I will continue to pay my rent, even though I know you from hole in the wall. I will continue because I signed this lease until you find someone to get me off the lease.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And your defense, it seems to me, to this action is that he was really trying to scam the government by depleting his bank account so he could collect food stamps or whatever.
No.
And as a result of that, because he wasn't being honest with the government, you shouldn't have to pay him back. I just want to know if that's what I'm reading correctly.
There was never an agreement
No.
to pay back.
That's a different story. I'm going to read this over because, you know, I'm getting elderly, and I may not have recalled exactly what you said in your answer. It doesn't say that here. It says several months later, it's after you found a new roommate, Emmett randomly reached out to me saying that I owed him money and demanded that I take out a personal loan to pay it. I refused. Emmett has some nerve. Not only did he break the lease, well, what difference does that make to you? He still was paying his half of the rent. So now you had a whole apartment by yourself and he was paying the rent, right? So why does he have some nerve? But he took advantage of me and used me to scam the system. So that's what I understand your defense is.
It is. I have video evidence, Your Honor.
Video of what?
Of Emmett.
Of Emmett what?
Of Emmett explaining why he was trying to get on assistance and how he was like, it's fine for you to pay rent with this money because I'm trying to empty my bank account so that I can get on food stamps.
It is true.
Okay, just a second. Just a second. Let's say that's true. He's going. I'm just trying to. Shh.
I furnished the down payment for the car.
Okay, so you bought 2 cars.
No, just one. I didn't have a vehicle at the time.
Oh, you know, I'm not believing you, sir. I'm really not buying this whole story.
Emmett Moss claims his former friend, Nadine Drury, owes for unpaid loans. Nadine says Emmett broke the lease they were both on.
I'm just trying to get your mindset. You know, I hate people who scam the system. But you got this money from him. And your defense is that he was trying to scam somebody else, so you shouldn't really have to pay him back, even though it was his money.
It was his money.
It was his money that he took out of his bank and gave to you.
Right.
For no reason.
That I never agreed to pay back for a lease that he was legally on. He's responsible for that rent money no matter what.
You mean so you get to live there free?
No,
Well, just a second. So you get to live there free. If he paid for it for the months that you didn't, you got to live there free. He wasn't even living there. It's not as if he was living there and you didn't get to live there free. You lived there alone. And he was paying the rent.
Yes.
Well, why do you think you're not responsible for that once you get back on your feet?
We never talked about a repayment.
No.
That's not.
Okay. Now,
we definitely talked about repayment.
Now, I want you to explain to me and be very careful Because, you know, I've been in this system a very long time. So I know about social services, and I know about the system, and I know about welfare, and I know about food stamps. I know all about that. So you contact her.
Yes.
And she tells you she lost her job.
Yes.
Let's pick it up from there.
Okay. So I found out through the payment portal that she hadn't paid rent.
Yeah, we're past that.
Okay.
We're
I
past
contacted
that.
her about that. Well, there was...
Don't look up.
Apologies. I sent her money that night.
No. You contacted the portal, and then you had to have had a conversation with her.
Right.
If you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory. Let's start with you contacted the portal, and you found out she hadn't been paying her rent. That was in January.
Correct. January the 2nd.
And January, she hadn't paid rent, and you called her, and she said to you...
She said to me that she didn't have money to pay, which I was aware of because she had previously told me that she I was aware that she had lost her job.
Just a second. How did you become aware that she had lost her job?
Because we were friendly with each other. We were talking several times a week via Facebook Messenger.
Fine. You knew that she lost her job.
Yes.
And I assume you knew if she lost her job, and you were speaking several times a week. Let's be very careful. This isn't just calling the pay portal and finding out that this stranger who you met once wasn't paying her rent. You were speaking, and you knew that she had fallen on difficult times. And?
I did. I didn't...
Don't go up here. Right here.
I didn't know that she wasn't going to pay rent on time.
No, just a second. You didn't know what?
On the 2nd was when I found out that the rent hadn't been paid.
On the 2nd of January.
The 2nd of January.
Just look at me. On the 2nd of January, you found out the rent hadn't been paid. What did you do?
So I called Nadine to ask about it, and she told me that she didn't have the money. And so I said, okay, I have these extra funds because I, at the time, was also unemployed. I had been taking payments, unemployment payments, and then the COVID payment.
And what?
The extra payments for COVID on top of unemployment, because this was 2020.
Welcome to Inflation 101.
Right. So all of my payments had been late and had come in a lump sum. So that is why I had extra
So your
money.
unemployment and your COVID funds came in one lump sum.
Correct.
And I want you to think very, very carefully. And you're living where, sir?
Seattle.
With whom?
At the time, I was seeking a roommate.
No. Where were you living?
So I was living in Seattle.
In Seattle with whom?
No one.
By yourself?
Yes. Technically, someone was paying rent because they had moved out.
You're looking up at the sky.
Sorry.
Don't look up at the sky. So somebody had moved out of their apartment.
Yeah.
Which had been prepaid in rent.
Yes.
So you were living there rent-free.
No. This was my apartment that I'd lived in for 3 years. And someone else had moved in and then moved out. And they broke the lease, not me.
They broke the lease, but they paid the rent.
Correct. They paid their half. I was still paying my half of rent. I never defaulted on my rental payments in Seattle ever.
And they were still paying theirs?
Yes. So we were both each paying our respective parts of the rent. And I was paying rent in Utah.
And you were paying rent where the defendant was living. Okay. So I want you to think very carefully. When you got your unemployment and your extra COVID money in a lump sum, how much did you get?
What?
No, don't look over there. You know exactly how much you got.
Yeah.
You don't have to think about it. Just give me a number.
$10,000.
Well, that should last you for a little bit. And you got $10,000 on what date?
I don't remember.
Month?
It would have been in November.
Okay, so now she's run out of funds, and you say to her, go ahead.
By the time we get to January, I do not have $10,000. I have much less because of other circumstances.
Like what?
Like needing to purchase a car for the girlfriend that I stayed in town.
A car?
Yes.
What else?
Rental payments. That's it. Nothing.
You bought your girlfriend a car?
I did. Her car that she had was a beater, and it was unsafe.
I don't care. What about your car?
I did use a down. I furnished the down payment for the car.
Okay, so you bought 2 cars?
No, just one. I didn't have a vehicle at the time.
Oh, I'm not believing you, sir. I'm really not buying this whole story. You're living by yourself. with a roommate. The roommate moves out. Your girlfriend had a terrible car. You don't live with the girlfriend.
Don't.
But you bought
the
her a
girlfriend
car.
Was,
you didn't have a car, but you bought her a car.
I had, if we need to back it up, I had given up my car in a bankruptcy earlier in the year because of...
In whose bankruptcy?
My bankruptcy.
Your bankruptcy.
That is why I didn't have a car.
Getting better all the time. Okie doke.
It was an interesting year.
That doesn't mean you don't owe money. It just means I have to know the characters that I'm dealing with.
I understand, Your Honor.
Okay. While you were going to the program, which you said it was in person, were you getting any government assistance that was connected to this trade school? That's either a yes or a no.
Emmett Moss has accused his former friend, Nadine Drury, of refusing to pay back loans. Nadine claims she was used by Emmett to scam the government.
So now you've got much less money from the $10,000. You bought your girlfriend a car, you had to pay her rent, you paid your own rent, you had other things from bankruptcies that you had before, so you have a little bit of money left in the bank.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So
don't look over there, right here. No, look,
on that evening of the 2nd, I paid Nadine a total of $710, enough to cover the rent of $585, any fees it would cost her to go and withdraw that money from the bank, and she also asked for extra money for groceries.
Just a second. You acknowledge a $3,000 amount of money that he gave you. Am I right?
Yes.
Or
yes.
You say that that's correct.
That includes the money that he's saying that he spent on rent, that he gave me for rent, and he's also asking for his deposit.
I am asking for my deposit.
The deposit for the apartment back.
Okay, well, he's entitled to that. You have a new roommate who I'm sure you got a deposit from.
She chose to not.
And if you didn't?
Collect a deposit from
What?
the roommate.
Well, that's her problem, because she's going to get the deposit back.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's reasonable. She's going to get the deposit back when she leaves. When you leave, if you leave the place in good condition, he was never living there, so if you don't leave it in good condition, then it's on you. I want to know about this video that she wants me to look at, where you tell her some sort of a scheme you have to get more money from the government.
It wasn't a scheme.
Why don't you tell me about it? So far, we got $10,000 that was supposed to last you for 6 months, and you blew it on a coffee your girlfriend. And so you may not call it a scheme. I want you to tell me why you had to have a zero bank account.
I didn't have to have a zero bank account.
A more limited access to money. What were you applying for, sir?
So...
Not so up here, so here.
Okay. I was applying for a program to go into the trades. So it was like a work-study program, like electrician, plumber, that sort of thing. And again, I didn't have a job, and unemployment had completely stopped. And as far
How many years did you collect unemployment?
It was less than 1 year.
How many years had you worked?
How many years have I worked?
Yeah.
I've been working since I was 16. So
well,
it's
I'm
been
surprised
14.
the unemployment totally ran out because they kept extending unemployment. People were on unemployment for years during COVID.
When they cut me off December of 2020, they did not reestablish my claim. I kept applying and it was denied. So I don't know why, but it was.
What kind of work do you do now?
I work for customer service.
Okay. And the trade school that you wanted to go to was to prepare you for what?
To be an electrician was what I wanted to do.
An electrician?
Yes.
And was this an online program?
No, this was in person.
Where?
It was in Seattle.
And how much did they give you to go to that program?
They didn't give me money to go to the program, but the program was free of charge.
Okay. So the government paid the tuition?
I believe that
Well, somebody pays the tuition, sir.
Yeah.
So the government pays the tuition. And while you were going to the program, which you said it was in person, how were you supporting yourself?
So...
Were you getting any government assistance that was connected to this trade school? That's either a yes or a no.
Yes, I applied for food stamps and got food stamps. That is what I got.
So you applied for some sort of assistance while you were going to this trade school, which you're not practicing now, and you're not an electrician.
That is correct.
And in order to apply for food stamps, you have to have a certain amount of money is the maximum you can have in your bank.
That is correct.
Okay. So that's the fraud you're talking about. That's why he gave you the money.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I mean,
just a second.
I also gave her the money because she was going to need the money for rent. Like, it was one of those situations where it was mutually beneficial for me to give her the money, but it wasn't.
You're looking up at the sky. I understand what happened.
So I wasn't going to have any way to support myself. I needed something to, the $2,000 was going to cover the rent for my place and my place in Seattle and my place in Utah, and then I wasn't going to have anything left.
I understand that it became mutually beneficial for you to advance her the money so that your bank account would have less in it so that you could receive assistance and also get free tuition at a trade school that you didn't use.
My intention was to use it, and I changed my decision later.
Do you think the trade school charged the government once you enrolled in it?
Yes.
Yes, of course they did. And you know how much the tuition was in the trade school? Yes, you have to know. No, it was free to you, but it wasn't free to the government.
Right,
the government pays.
$1,500 was what I was made to understand.
Baloney. You people really somehow deserve each other, but you owe him $3,000. Madam, judgment for the plaintiff. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
I'm a little bit shocked to be made out as a government scammer.
I mean, I lost my job and I wasn't able, and he bailed on the lease that he signed.
Because that wasn't ever my intentions.
I mean, I was alone. I had lost my job. I just didn't have any support.
Definitely careful about getting money from the government.
Just glad it's done. Glad I don't ever have to see him again.
Haven't had to do that since this whole situation, and I intend to keep it that way.
You know, it's so unfortunate because that plaintiff looked like an intelligent enough man, able-bodied, seemingly, and he spent a lot of time, effort, brain power into bankruptcy proceedings, trade schools that would be paid for by the government, applying for food stamps, knowing what the threshold for food stamps is so that he had to get rid of a certain amount of money. That seems like a lot of time and effort that could have been better spent gaining legitimate employment or skills at a trade school legitimately. And it's just unfortunate that some people decide to take the path that I view as more difficult in searching for ways to get